The second semi-final underway. The winner straight into the grand final. The Bulldogs have never beaten Port Adelaide in a final game yet. Will they create history today? Cook, the first man out of the middle. First kick for the Bulldogs. Goes through half forward. Jimmy Wynd feeds it off to Potter. Good work as he comes around on the left boot. Conway sits underneath it. Can the big man get back there? It'll run. It's a point. First score to the Bulldogs, 20 seconds into the first term. And we talked to Kenny Sheldon about the matchups. Kenny.
Well, there are some magnificent matchups, particularly on this wing. You have Scott Stevens on Greg Anderson in the midfield, David Brown and Tim Cook running as Rovers. Won't that be a sensational on-ball duel? And that player there, Paul Northeast, he's picked up the elusive half-forward flanker, Jared Cotton, for the Central District side.
On the far wing, it's James Saywell and Fabian Francis head-to-head. So you're right, there are some fabulous matchups out there. David Flood pulling out of this game for Central beforehand, and that is going to be a blow for them. Fegert takes it at half-back. Still the breeze is rattling away from left to right. But call me imaginative, but already you can sense a greater urgency in this game than the first semi. Out the back, Northeast really needed to control it a bit better, but Pedler intelligently found the line on the far side with a little help from his friends. So Fiacci's got the Rovers. Daryl Poole is there on screen, number 30. Centre half forward, doing the ruck work in the forward line. And we'll just do a little check on that though, because he did spring up at the first centre bounce. So whether he goes to centre half forward or not, or sits back, remains to be seen. But Darren Smith's the player sitting back, Ken, so we'll get you to watch that one.
Pooley will do most of the ruck work, you'd suspect. His strength against the height of Schaefer. Fegert down to Fabian Francis, the little speedster, second in this year's Magarey medal. What a reward for his great second half of the season. Over the top of it now, Harada, the team of the year centre half back, gets a handball away. Wilson crashed through. Now a quick kick forward. And Cotton gives it out. Girdham, 50 out, closing, couldn't get the kick away. As we go down to the boundary line where Mark Nailey sits for us this afternoon.
Yes, good afternoon, fellas. We just found out about David Flood. He was stripped. He had his boots on. He was doing the warm-up in the change rooms before the game, and he pulled a muscle. They're not telling me exactly what he pulled, but he has had hamstring problems over this season. He may have pulled a hamstring in the change room, but the Central's boys or teams did bring 24 players to the game, so one of them got stripped and got warmed up very, very quickly.
Good on you, Niles. That's a huge story, pulling out during the warm-up.
It's happened before, Stephen, hasn't it?
It has, but often, from my experience, it's a knock, or it's I've been in situations where guys have ended up with a couple of stitches with overzealous warm-ups, but not jagging hamstrings and so forth. That's really a little more rare. Here's Saywell quickly around the body. A quick mark and a big mark early will help the Bulldogs to settle to this task. As we said, they've never beaten Port Adelaide in the final. If they're going to beat them today, they need to start well. Lees round the body, was looking for the boundary line. It didn't come quickly enough. Stevens works back, just took a little short one on it, and Lees attacked him.
I think that set the tone today, hasn't it? Lees just make sure that the Central players know it's going to be a physical clash today. Schaefer front position, thumps it down, roves his own touch, but McGowan was pulled off the balls to the umpire, and the free kick will go to the champion centreman. He looked to play on quickly. They've obviously set their agenda. They're going to move the ball quickly and try and catch Port Adelaide out. The Magpies are renowned for their ferocity at the ball. Potter, who kicked a point, at the back. It's the big man in Conway. He's kicked 54 for the season. And he'll kick for goal. 55 metres out. The angle is tight, but he'll bring it up with the breeze. Put it to the point of the square and let it come around. No, he's going to lob it right in the square. See if the Bulldogs can't have a mark. Lures was up, Cotton was down. But the big man in Daryl Poole for Port Adelaide carries it across the line.
And you can really see the strength of that breeze blowing strong to the right of screen, but very strong into the scoreboard pocket.
There's the boundary throw in. Lures doing the ruck work down there. He's taken Flood's spot, presumably up the front. And the ball dribbles across the line.
And Fiacci is on Wynd in the back pocket, as we said, picking up the Rovers. You've got Conway at full forward being picked up by Delaney. Lures with Pedler and Lees with Borkwell.
The Bulldog interchange bench, Green, that's David Green, Peter Green and Peter Vardy.
Schaefer. He has an enormous, a titanic task in front of him today to get over Poole. And it doesn't surprise me one bit, you know, that Poole's jumped into him in the first bounce. That will be the tactic to try and unsettle the Central District ruckman. He gives away a fair bit of weight.
And clearly the tactic there by Nigel Fugit twice in the last couple of moments, just using the safety of the boundary.
Well, they've done it more successfully than we saw in the first semi, where players tried to find it but kept kicking, over-kicking, and having the ball go out of bounds on the full. McGuinness. Cook, was it? Was. Couldn't control it. Here's Wynd now, another little bloke with the same disposition, drags it around the body. Lewis really needed to take it, but off hands it's Cotton. The tackling was superb early in this game. Conway can't control it. Borkwell thought for a moment he might have flicked it up to Stevens, but the Port defence was superb.
And that's really what it's all about in finals. You have to be ferocious at the body, and you can see there the spilled mark, but then in they come. Just put that pressure on for the last second to enable the ball to keep running Port Adelaide's way, and eventually a ball-up result.
It was northeast on Cotton that affected that spoil. Borkwell thumps it down. Loose ball falls. Geneva. Hurry kick towards the boundary line. Tensions are clear. It's going to run and run, but Stevens is good enough to cut it off. He's really fired up today, playing with some emotion. Now Girdham around the corner, snaps. It's a point.
It's good score there by Girdham. Possibly could have been a goal, but not, I guess, renowned for his goal kicking, but he is renowned for his hard, ferocious attack on the football and the man, and the player that he's playing on, none other than Tim Geneva. So the two opposing captains in the midfield.
Two skippers. Not a bad matchup either, is it?
Beautiful matchup. Cook on Brown in the midfield and McGowan on Wilson at the moment.
Lewis has dropped his second mark. Pedler scoops it out the back door. Saywell one step, bangs it back, but Delaney will sit on this and mark it easily in the back pocket before distributing it short to northeast.
Northeast at half-back and was absolutely superb last week. He's got his hands full with Jared Cotton, though.
Yeah, Cotton is, well, he's renowned for kicking 3 or 4 goals a game at crucial times too, but northeast, he's an unlikely looking customer. He is a brilliant player.
McGowan to Schaefer, and he nails it. Beautiful kick from Robbie. What's going to be critical from him today is how he bears up in the midfield in terms of those centre bounces, but he does have some class, a little bit of polish with the ball. He gets through the first of the second semi.
And you can see there from this packed situation, McGowan, who is prolific with possession, brings the ball back inboard, so enabled Schaefer a clear run at goal, and you can see the structure of the Central District side very evident early on in this game.
Eight points. The Bulldogs. Port Adelaide yet to score.
Just all going man for man, David, aren't they? If you cast your eyes around the ground, there's nobody, even wingman, giving any latitude.
No, it's the way both coaches would have it. Jimmy Wynd out of the middle. Girdham handballs off to Saywell. Behind him, Cotton steals it away. Handballs it off to Girdham. He was clobbered by Francis. Now Fugit working very hard. Girdham comes in tough at it. And this is the same Bulldog skipper who played last year's final series, Triggy, with a couple of broken ribs.
It's unbeknown to people. I think people knew that he had an injury, but the extent of which I'm sure they weren't aware, other than those close in at Bulldog territory. And he was super duper, wasn't he, last year, because he laid a couple of hard tackles and led from the front. That kick from the ground was okay. Conway couldn't control it, though. It goes across the line.
It was actually a magnificent kick from Cotton. If it hadn't have been touched, it may well have gone through for a goal from almost 45 metres out. You can see it there on the replay. Just touched. Certainly on the way.
It was, wasn't it? So now Roger the Dodger. Just a fair bit of football this year with injury, but doesn't he love a final? Him and George Fiarchi, 6 medals around their neck, grand final medals. David Brown on the left, playing as a ruck rover on Cook. Good matchup that one too. So there's some quality all over the paddock today.
Well, across that centre line, Saywell on Francis on centre wing, Stevens on Anderson on the members wing here, and in the midfield, Schaefer on Poole, Girdham and Geneva, Cook on Brown for Port Adelaide, and McGowan being shadowed by Wilson.
That's one high for Girdham. Any matchups you don't like, Ken?
No, not at all. I think both teams have really got it right.
Okay, Girdham to Conway. Northeast just got the important hand to it. Now that's deliberate, no doubt about that.
Given up.
Yeah, the umpire thought about it for a moment. Now, he could have just carried it through for a point, or he could have grabbed it and just run across the line virtually, but intention there very clear, and he'll pay a penalty. Conway couldn't get there. Delaney in. Ginniver up. Getting through was that Borlase? It was indeed. Towards the boundary line. Stevens with pace just inside the line. Oh, very clever young man. Pushes it forward to Lewis, who'll need to use his bulk. Kept himself over the ball. That's great finals commitment, isn't it?
Hard at the body, hard at the ball. Eyes only for the football. Very dubious whether that ball was actually in or out.
Now remember, the whole ball's got to go out before it's actually out. That's the rule. And I don't think it was.
A good call on that basis. Well, that's out. And Fee gets done to the game, but this time he's not going to be penalised for it. So Darren Smith, it's a bit of the old formula, isn't it? Darren Smith's back at centre-half forward for the Maggies today. In their big games, it just seems to happen over the years. Pull into the ruck, need to interchange. Quick reflex, Potter, quick kick from him as well, 1 point. So they're plundering the goal front at the 11-minute mark. They go along to 1-4, the Bulldogs, but you'd expect that they need goals early.
Goal face pressure. There have been snapshots which have resulted in behinds for the Bulldogs. They'll just need to be that little cleaner and quicker with their disposal and then kick a little more accurately. But we are 10 minutes in. They have had 5 shots for goal. So in the next 10 minutes, they can turn that around and they're well in control.
McGowan to say well. The handball back stolen by Francis. He missed it on the overflow. Borlase out to Lees, who was so very good running as a free man from halfback last week against the Redlegs. Now with confidence rising, drives it long. D. Smith juggled it. Scotty Lee. Very good. And look at this. Jimmy Wynd in the midfield can run it hard and long. The target is Conway over his head, I suspect. He'll need to back into it. Roger the Dodger thumped it away. There was no push. Triggy was calling for it. Northeast, Fiarchi, and across the line. Well done, George. Exactly what he wanted.
Used every bit of his experience to advantage then, George Fiarchi. Really did fake it as not being deliberate. But I can guarantee you
it was.
Would have
Well, he was true, wasn't he? He ran out of bounds and then handballed forward to make it look like he just ran out of space. That's great experience.
Pedler and Borlase and now Fiarchi and now the boundary line.
A fumble.
What about Scott Lee's kick just a moment ago? We've seen a first semi-final and the first few moments of this where it's been so hard to control the ball in the wind, and he just nailed it, didn't he? Pinpoint to Wynd. Lewis and Poole, who, dare I say it, is the trump card. He's the man. Central District can manage him, they'll be well off. If they can't, then Port will go marching into another grand final. Here's Lees, who kicks forward, and we're going to see some great contest. Rowan Smith, boys, I think, is at half forward, by the way, being picked up by Daniel. And Daniel's kick inside half forward. Good mark taken by Feagit.
Yes, that call's correct. That half forward line is Smith, Darren Smith at centre half forward, and Warren Treadray being picked up by Wakeland.
It's a measure of respect, isn't it, for Treadray, David, because Wakeland's their best defender, probably.
It is. Coming on, Peter Vardy. Coming off, Simon Lewis. They're looking for some mobility. And Lewis has had 2 opportunities. Clear marks dropped. And you just worry about the confidence factor of a player at the early stages of a game. And they might bring him back on a little later when the pace of the game is not so crucial. I think Vardy's better equipped when the pace is on. Brown fights hard for it. Or is it taken too high? No, said the umpire. Girdham emerges with it, shoots it out to McGowan. Left foot distributes it nicely. Look at the kick. It's a beauty. And Vardy, look at it.
Great coaching move, Kenneth.
He could just lip read then. Lewis is saying that wind's unreal.
Well, I can guarantee you it's unreal, having been down there in the earlier match. It really is. 5 or 6 goals to right of screen, but that was magnificent vision again by McGowan. Structured up well. The handball come out of the pack to McGowan at the rear of the pack, and then just used it with perfection with the left foot.
Peter Vardy in his 14th game of the season. Had a few with the Crows, did pretty well. He's kicked 15 goals for this season. Just leant back on that, and I suspect it's drifted off to the right. It has. So another crucial one goes begging. We're 13.5 minutes into the first term.
And it's those type of goals that need to go through to get your confidence and keep your momentum going. With now 15 minutes almost into the game, 1 goal 5 the Bulldogs have on the board. The next 10 minutes they need to be able to change that around, kicking 5 goals 1 to be in control of the game.
Oh, play on. A wrong option. Conway hands it back to Schaefer. The reflexes are right to Cook. Now straight on line is Lee, who shouldn't miss, but is missed by somewhere around the order of 30 metres.
Ball control.
Well,
The Bulldogs have had probably 8 shots for goal and only registered 11 points on the scoreboard. 1 goal, 5. Goal face pressure is letting them down, and they need to respond with some big ones.
Delaney, whose kick holds up like it's hit the brick wall. Vardy, quick kicks to the mobility, paying off straight away. Front spot. Who was that? Cotton by the look down there. Good hands. McGowan, bit of class from him. Sets it up, doesn't come back. So 1-6. They're kicking themselves out of it at the moment, the Doggies.
There is a mental pressure, Ken, isn't there?
There is a psychological pressure, exactly. As more behinds are registered, you really need to be able to kick goals early in a final.
Delaney short, northeast, who's got the dangerous Cotton. McGowan off hands, it went to Fegert, who kicked it out of bounds on the full. Well, he's had 3 or 4 attempts of just grubbering them, and he's done pretty well. Sale plays on quickly, allowed to by the umpire. But look at this, Borlase. Now, we weren't sure Borlase was going to play after being carried off on a stretcher last week. We thought he might have had concussion, but clearly he looks all right. Wakeland, loose ball, falls to Francis. He was out of play before he dispatched the kick. We're 16.5 minutes into the first term. Central's a 1-6. Port Adelaide are yet to score.
Fabian Francis, runner-up in the Magarey medal. Had a great little season and polled highly. 15 votes for him. Darryl Poole. And a bounce down, so it's tight in the clinches. And you wouldn't expect much else, but with 7 shots on the board, there's 0 at the moment. And just a 10-12 point lead. Central District wasting some opportunities. It comes out the back to Borlase, and there must be some sort of considerable doubt about Daisy, I'd imagine, being thumped like he was last week.
Well, it's always a questionable one, whether you do play the type of player. You've really got to know your product, know the history of the man. And Port Adelaide are certainly well within their rights to play him, and he certainly opened in a fashion that would vindicate the decision.
I think at any measurement, Darryl Borlase would stand up pretty well, Ken. It's a fair comment that you've made. It really depends on the player, doesn't it? Wakeland was out of play. And Darryl Borlase, I'd suspect, would be one of those players in the real tight clinches you'd go for every time.
Well, I remember talking to Jack Cale some time ago, the former great Port Adelaide coach, and he said that Borlase, he actually introduced me to him, and he said this is one of the first players picked in my finals teams.
Yeah, it would be too. Scotty Lee to Gurdon. This fellow be one of the Bulldogs' first pick. This fellow's been pretty good too in recent times. From Clare, hasn't he done that township proud? McGowan from the West Coast, he's done that area pretty proud too. Great player. And Schwert, a product of the local Elizabeth area, to Schaefer. Started his career with the Double Blues, went off to Richmond, and now back with the Bulldogs in South Australia. A long ball. Cotton, well, he was just clear, but Northeast desperately lunged across the top. Great second effort.
And that's a perfect defence. Stephen Williams, the coach of Port Adelaide, will be delighted with that defensive approach from Paul Northeast. A second skin on Jared Cotton, just getting his fist there at the last moment.
Geneva, Potter, dead heat, that one. It'll be a bounce. Now, I'll ask you about the Port Adelaide defence, Ken. They left out Stephen Carter. A few people were surprised by that.
Well, Carter has been playing predominantly in the forward half since about midway through the season, and for my way of thinking has played a little bit too often behind. He has kicked only 11 goals in 8 games, and he kicked a number of those in a couple of games, so I guess his form has been patchy. The hard decision had to be made. Certainly Roger Delaney, the vice-captain, has to come back into your side, particularly when you see Conway line up at full forward for the Bulldogs.
Yeah, tools on tools. Cotton from behind punches it down. Potter just paddles it forward. Archie makes sure that ball heads across the line. We're 19 minutes in, 1-6 the Bulldogs. Comment on that.
Well, inaccuracy, goal face pressure often causes you to lose games. We've seen that from Essendon, who had predominantly the major component of the football early in the game against Sydney, but yet went down after the siren by the narrowest of margins. A great goal by Plugger. Great point, I should say.
It was a great point, wasn't it?
Probably history is better than it is a point.
I was going to say, yeah, there's a couple of great points in history. One is Plugger's point. The other one's Barry Breen in the 66 grand final. They are famous points. As Poole thumps it down, Jimmy Wynd around the corner. Conway, what can he do with this one? Pressure from Delaney, thumps it down. Stevens did well. Cotton over the top of it, bustled off the ball by Northeast. Now Anderson works to the line, did it well. Great team disciplines.
Very much in evidence already in this game from Port Adelaide. 20 minutes in and we've seen Fegit, we've seen Anderson, we've seen Fiachi deliberately use the safety of the boundary.
Mark Naley joins us in commentary. Mark, it's been an entertaining first 20 minutes.
I spent the first 15 minutes of that quarter sitting on the boundary, and you could just sense, you could just feel that the players really are having a good go at that game at the moment. It is intense. It has got everything you need from this type of football. No side is going to give in. No side is going to pull out of a contest. We see Smith at centre half back, looking for some sort of movement out wide. He's got Wilson. He goes that way. Just couldn't quite pinpoint him. Unfortunately enough, it's gone out over the boundary line, but it's been a great contest so far. We've only played just over 20 minutes of this game, but it has been a great contest.
As the ball comes back into play, 21 minutes gone. Full front position, thumps it back across the line. The Bulldogs just need to open it up. There's great congestion around their half-forward line. Wynd sits on Fiachi. Schaefer leaps from behind, but it was again Poole who gets it down. The ball who kicked it out of bounds on the full. Just tripped as he was kicking it.
He was just pushed by Girdham. It was tremendous attempt by Girdham and just put him off balance, and the result was out on the full.
This is Geneva. Came back last week from an injury, which is a hamstring. Gives out to Brown, who was in sensational form in the latter half of the season. That's the minor round we're talking about. Brown, courageous. He just keeps knocking up possession, just keeps finding the football in the right place. Big leap from behind. That was Treadray. It's a squirt. Couldn't quite get his hands on the ball. Quick hands in by tight by the Centrals team. The ball's only just gone as far as Darryl Poole. He looks to give it off to somebody running past. There's no one there, so he goes back, looks down the ground. So Poole just pops it out wide. That's the place to be. Ball A, Smith over the top, couldn't quite take it. Lee in there again, kicks it quickly off the ground. And finds a safety at the boundary line. 1 goal, 6-12. The Central District, Port Adelaide yet to score.
It's the goal face where Central need to really lift their rating. They have 1 goal, 6 on the board, probably from 8 or 9 opportunities, but they need to get some majors through. Man for man all over the ground, tremendous disciplines by both sides, good structures and great commitment, but just needs some accurate kicking at the goal face for Central to make the most of this strong breeze.
Yeah, Archie's kick was smothered by Potter. Another thing you might notice, there's been some good one-on-one pressure, but there's not much physical confrontation so far. I would have expected absolute fireworks in the opening 15 minutes of this game, and it hasn't eventuated. There's been a little spot fire here and then, but none of the very fierce physical clashes we thought would come. Vardy towards full forward, Conway underneath it. From behind it was Delaney. Jimmy Wynd snap around the corner. It's a point. They're 1-7, the Bulldogs. Port Adelaide are yet to score.
And again, a difficult snapshot for goal, but kicking with a strong breeze like this, you have to be patient. You have to set it up and be able to kick majors.
As Delaney finds Lees in the back pocket. Lees will go back. He'll just slow the game up a little bit. They realise now they've held Centrals to 1 goal. That might just be enough. So Lees goes back, puts it wide, just keeps it inside the boundary line. McGuinness is in there. He just paddles it out over the boundary line. We saw in the first game, Ken, the way the delivery into the forward line, bombing it up high, trying to expect one of your forward players to really take a big mark. It just didn't occur. And we're seeing the same thing here with Central Districts early in this game.
Not probably to the same extent. I think more so from Central, the detriment of their game is just at the goal face. That final kick from the front line, from the first line of attack, just needs to be more accurate. Certainly in the first game, they were trying to kick the skin off the footy, and you know, the breeze can only do so much.
Poole again takes front position, so he has a height disadvantage against Schaefer, but in taking front position, he's leading the way. Hit outs 7 apiece. Well, it's pretty even so far. Schaefer goes after it. Pedler thumps it down. Brown missed it. Geneva picks it up. Taps it out the back door. Cleverly done. Borlays short kick forward was smothered. Now an opportunity for Borkwell. Goes hard at it. Claimed Wilson. Wilson got through the tackle. Broke it terribly easily. And then kicks it out of bounds on the full. So as they drop the ball, the breeze is just blowing it wide. Saywell towards full forward. Cook, he kicked 4 last year in this corresponding game. Do you remember it? And Vardy nails it. It was a good feed from Cook. And what a good move off the interchange bench. They pull Booz off, Vardy on, and it's working.
And that was a terrific goal. It was set up by Cook, who crumbed that to the front and square. He then flicked it off with the left hand beautifully into Vardy, who's come on to replace Lures, created a lot more mobility. That's his second shot at goal. And more importantly, the Bulldogs' second goal. 2 goals, 7 they have, but Port Adelaide have not yet registered a score.
So 19-point margin to the Central Bulldogs. The ball gets put down again. Schaefer really has been on top in the middle, although the stats indicate that they're pretty even around the ground. Anderson throws onto his right boot, up towards Smith. He couldn't quite take it. Quick knockout forward. Again, we see Wilson over it. Gives it to Ball Ace. He throws it on his boot. Finds Brown forward. Off centre, he chips it out in front of Hodges, and Scotty Hodges out in front takes a valuable mark. If he kicks this, it'll be a very important goal going into quarter time.
You can see Brown on his preferred left foot just really put that ball out in front of the fast and hard-running Scott Hodges, who will kick from 35 metres on a 45-degree angle.
Just Scotty Hodges lines up. The breeze will determine whether he kicks it or not. Look at that, it's just taken the football. He's ended up well out past centre half forward, but who's there? His teammate, Darren Smith. He'll get a pat on the head. He does from Smithy. Rowan Smith, that is, and Darren Smith 30 metres out on the opposite side of what Scotty Hodges has. 45-degree angle. It's gone from one side of the ground to the other.
And this is possibly, you can see the wind really take that ball away. This is probably even a more difficult kick than that of Hodges, as the wind is blowing right into his face. Such an important kick for the Port Adelaide side. Yet to register a score, 19 points behind. Kicking against probably a 6-goal breeze. Smith punches at the football, inaccurate in the end, registers Port Adelaide's first score.
John Cale will tell you every time he picks a grand final side, this bloke is one of his first picked. He reckons he's never let him down in a big game, D. Smith, and there's no higher compliment than that. Scotty Lee goes long to the far side. Wakeland was the target. Out the back door is Sable. He takes on Fiati with pace. He likes it, doesn't he? Handballs to himself. George is staying with him to his great credit. Around the corner, it's Borkwell at half forward. And it's been tapped out of his hands. It's a 50-metre penalty. Well, it's a 25-metre penalty.
Sorry, 25 metres.
25, thank you. So umpire Derek Woodcock just indicates a 25-metre penalty. Here it is. Fair enough. 25-metre penalty. So a difficult kick becomes an easier one. He'll kick for goal from 30 out. The angle is slight. He'll bring it back with the breeze. The goal umpire goes galloping, but the goal umpire likes it. It's a goal. Borkwell gets his first. The Bulldogs get their third. They're 3-7. Quarter 1 point. We're 28 minutes into the first term of the second semi-final on ABC Sport.
And what a magnificent goal. You can see here the sprint, the pace of Saywell just racing down the ground. Used the ball well into Borkwell, and there, well, maybe it was there, the 25-metre penalty. I'm not so sure, but certainly the umpire deemed it. That was the case, and Borkwell equal to the task. And that's a magnificent goal when you consider that they really do need accuracy in front of goals.
24 points to Central Districts. Is down again in there. Tough and hard was Girdham. He was over the footy. Central are throwing themselves in. The 7 points in this opening quarter may hurt them at the end of the day, but then again it mightn't.
Well, if the breeze is as strong as we think it is, a 24-point lead shouldn't be all that difficult to peg back, at least get within a goal, say, at half-time.
Ball's kicked forward again. Put up high, out coming hard is Vardy, who's already kicked one for the quarter. He has given a little bit of spark up in that forward line.
Let's kick 1-1.
Well, he's just got that extra turn of pace, says Peter Vardy, number 30 for the Central District side, as he takes a great mark at ground level. This is well within his distance. He'll kick the distance of this easily. The accuracy is so important. The dying stages of the first quarter, perhaps with a 5 or 6 goal breeze, Central are kicking. If he can kick this, they really have done pretty well.
Too much pace for Pedler, you'd suggest, Mark.
He's giving him 12 centimetres at the moment. Just a... As he blinds it up, he's looking through, it's hit the post. So another point is registered by the Central District side. They move on to 3 goals, 8 now, 26. Port Adelaide just with that solitary point. We see Roger Delaney bring it in, that low left leg of his. Hits it forward as we hear the quarter-time scores here at Football Park. Ken, just give us a brief summary.
Well, Central District 3 goals, 8-26, leading Port Adelaide, only one behind. That was kicked by Darren Smith, who started at centre-half forward and played a pretty good role there. Him and Scott Hodges at full forward haven't had a lot of the football. Hodges received a great kick from David Brown in really the only Port Adelaide foray, which resulted in Smith's behind for the Magpies. But other than that, it was Central Districts that had control of the game for the most of the quarter. They just weren't able to, however, in front of goal, be accurate. They ended up with 8 behinds, a couple out in the full perhaps. 3 goals, 8. Goal face pressure could be costly in the end, but relatively well positioned are the Bulldogs at this stage.
So the margin at quarter time, 25 points in favour of the Bulldogs as we go to the quarter time break. You're on ABC Sport. Second quarter of the second semi-final underway with the Bulldogs leading by 25 points. Port Adelaide are kicking to the right of screen with what we believe to be at least a 4 or 5 goal breeze. Schaefer wins it. Fabian Francis off the ground, kicked it forward. Poole handballs off to Jennifer, a high ball to half forward. Who wants it? Scotty Lee held his nerve, but off hands. It's McGuinness. It's coming around. It's a point. Well, they needed a goal and he knew it, but it just dribbled back not quite far enough.
It almost had enough off break on it to go through for a goal. Must have just maybe even clipped the post from my viewing from here, but the ball spilled out of Lee's chest and McGuinness, his direct opponent, was good enough to snare it. The only change basically that has been made is that Fabian Francis and Greg Anderson have stayed on their respective wings in the first quarter. So Anderson still here on the members' wing.
Poole, a high ball towards full forward. Scotty Lee punches it forward. Ricochets down, and Schwert handballs to the boundary line. Now, they pinged that earlier when Fegert did it, but perhaps not quite so obvious this time. David Elliott said he was going forward, and that's all he needed to do. Fair enough. The other one was hitting it behind you. The other one was going forward with a handball. Well, I think Port Adelaide fans weren't happy, but I think the umpire's observer would be quite content. Cook goes off the ground. This is Stevens on the right boot. Grubbers it. It's a short one. Poole did well. Good contest. Fabian Francis, a high ball. 20 out. Out comes Scotty. 2 hands. Couldn't bring it down. McGuinness. Snap for goal. How's this one bouncing? That's a beauty. Kicked it while he was in the air. You don't see that too often. That's a talented kick for goal.
That is a sensational goal. An absolutely sensational goal. To snare that ball, be off balance, falling away from the goal and be able to kick it against the flow. It then got that off break that we talked about from the previous kick. It's got a sufficient off break to bounce through for the first one for Port Adelaide.
He's been an important player, McGuinness, this year for them. Stephen Williams says he is their best recruit. And that is one of the goals of the season, no doubt about that. 1-2, the Magpies, 3-8 Central. Loose ball. McGowan threw it out with a handball. But the umpire said it was a throw. So it's a Port Adelaide free kick. Going back now, Fabian Francis. Waste no time. Look at that. That is a beautiful kick. 75 metres. It's bouncing over the heads. It's touched off hands, but it didn't matter. It hit the post either way. Hicks indicated he touched it. And the goal umpire said, don't worry, son, it's hit the post.
Fabian Francis, number 3 for the Port Adelaide Magpies. Playing on the same wing as he did on the first quarter, the outer wing. So he'll get a lot of the football, and he is such a beautiful kick, both in accuracy and in distance.
Loose ball, up for grabs. 50-50 contests are pretty important in finals, aren't they?
Well, they certainly are. The team that can win the majority of those often has the majority of the football for the day, and then all you've got to be, it's only then up to your efficiency with the footy. Yeah. Port Adelaide and Central both base their game plan around winning the 50-50. That's why there's so many one-on-one and good matchups.
McGowan claimed by Wilson. Scotty Lee just held the ball in to make sure it wasn't a free kick. It's one stat I'd love to see in a final is the 50-50 contest. We see kicks, we see marks and handballs. Free kicks inside 50. But I think the real one that tells whether the game's won or lost is whether you win the 50-50 balls. Arada thumps it down. Claimed by Francis. Too high, said the umpire. He'll take his time. He'll go back and kick it wide.
Well, he has to. The object of the Bulldogs quarter kicking against this strong breeze is to soak up the time and, of course, prevent goals being scored.
Potter head down, handballs, under pressure from Wilson. He gets it across the line. Just 4 minutes into the second term. 26 plays, 9, 15 points the margin in favour of the Bulldogs. It's funny how gets pulled back pretty quickly. Scotty, look at this. Look at this. He can be a match winner.
Well, it's a great lesson for anybody watching the game, aspiring to play at the highest level, play in front. It's as simple as that. Hicks trying to get his fist around Hodges, but the big frame of Hodges in front, diving at the ball, taking it at ground level. Magnificent chest mark.
Well, he's important to them. It was an important kick by Brown too. Just those ones out of the midfield that go forward into space and it lets Scotty run onto it. Well, there's no reaction. It's a point. Doesn't miss those too often, does he?
The wind is blustery down there. I can guarantee you that, having been down there earlier in the game. But misses like that, really, they're not acceptable. They have to respond and recuperate. Both teams. Central have kicked 3 goals, 8. Port Adelaide 1 goal, 4. The goal face pressure is letting the game down, the standard of the game. Everything else has been evidenced so far, but they really need to improve in their accuracy towards goal.
Scotty Lee towards the outer side. Schaefer thumps it down. McGowan pushes it forward. Over the top it was Poole. He's claimed. Girdham gets him. Well, he gets a few of them too. One of the great tacklers in the competition, Roger Girdham.
Well, you talk about those 50-50 balls. There's another statistic that the coaches call 1%ers, the sacrificial acts or the hard things. And Roger Girdham's columns would be full of those. The tackles, the smothers, the blocks, the scrags, the taps, the verbal abuse, if you like. Yep. Anything that can give you the edge. The 2 captains, for that matter, are both outstanding in those departments.
Yeah, not bad. I remember Tim Ginniver just put out his jaw and let a young eagle belt him on it so he could pick up a free kick a couple of years ago in a grand final. Turned the course of the game. Cook around the corner. Loose ball, Wilson. Over the top, Fiarchi. 50 out, he loves the goal. This fellow goes, and there's Scotty. Front position. And once he's there, he's almost immovable.
Well, he's able to bend his body, and you can see this on the replay. He's got his butt sticking right out there. It's very difficult to be able to get your fist around to spoil the football. Tremendous experience shown by Scott Hodges. Play in front and you will be rewarded.
He's already kicked a point. They trail by 16 points. This will bring it back to within 10. It's not a bad start, is it? 7 minutes into the second term. Scotty gets his first. The Magpies trail by 10 points.
You can see there Wilson, good use of the football, back into the corridor. Fiarchi had structured up well, sitting back, 1 out and 1 back, and kicked the ball. Not such a neat kick, but again, if you're in front, you'll be rewarded. The 7-minute mark, and they have 2 goals on the board with the Wind, the Magpies. It did take the Bulldogs the 24th minute mark to register their second goal when kicking with this strong breeze to the right of screen.
So back in the centre, 7.5 minutes gone in this second term. Schaefer got a soft one, down to Poole. His direct opponent couldn't have picked him out any better, really. Long kick and a tough one to take. Wakeland works back, crunches into Hodges. A couple of bruises there tomorrow morning. And the ball goes across the line.
Well, Wakeland hasn't got up yet. Now he does. Just feeling the effects of it.
Can't catch the footy unless you've got your eyes on it. Clearly evidence there. Good play by Hodges. Good intimidation factor for Port Adelaide.
Wilson taken high. No free kick. David Arnfield, the runner, out just to check everything's okay. Let's see what happens here. Well, he just got a little flick on the top of the head by Hereda. Tried to let the umpire see it. I don't think there was much in that at all. Hereda towards the boundary line. Yep. And I think the Bulldogs will be quite happy that it finishes there. 8.5 minutes gone, second term. 10-point ball game. Port Adelaide with the gale at their back, kicking to the right of screen. Action coming to you throughout South Australia, the Northern Territory, on ABC Sport. As Fabian Francis wins the tap. Jimmy Wynd had his kick smothered. And look at the desperation around the ball.
The experience of number 13, Rowan Smith. Magnificent smother.
The bounce down sees Smith going at it with Hereda. McGowan, his distribution is always accurate. Potter and Feegit to the line. So 10 points the difference. 10 minutes have gone nearly in this second term. And Nigel Feegit playing through defence.
So far in the game, only 1 point has been kicked to left of screen against a strong breeze, perhaps 5 or 6 goals, but only 1 point registered, and that was from the boot of Darren Smith late in the first quarter.
Brendan Daniels there with Wakeland. Michael creates a bit of a path for himself and then holds it up. He had some options. One of them was Potter. Made to earn it by Anderson, who was so very good last week against Norwood. Now the Potter kick. I think the breeze might have just dropped a little bit, boys, because that one held up okay and allowed Cotton to come in and take a good mark. Contest with Northeast so far has been pretty good. Here's Saywell. Saywell lurks at the goals and it just fades across the front. And Mark Nailey is sitting down on the boundary side. Mark, he probably needed a bit more of the left post.
Yeah, the wind is still very blustery down. I'm sure it's just sitting down here. The players really are finding the conditions very, very hard to handle. You just see every time they get the whole of the football kicking it forward, whether it's Port going with the breeze or Centrals against the breeze, they are finding it very difficult to control their kicks, and even their handballs are finding it very difficult. But when you see the umpire bounce the ball and the ball moves sort of 10, 15 metres in the air, you know this wind is strong down here.
Big crowd support, Mark. Centrals are calling out Centrals. Port Adelaide, how do you rate the voice in the crowd? 50-50?
It's just fantastic to be down here at the moment. It's just amongst the supporters, whether it's the Port supporters or the Central supporters. They are really fanatical. They love their clubs. They love watching their football. But a great crowd here. I reckon it's more than last week. It'd have to be more than last week. I think we had 31,000 last week. Would have to be, I reckon, near enough to say 33 to 35,000 here this afternoon.
Fair enough.
Bit touch and go on that crowd as it comes out towards centre wing. Saywell gave Anderson the slip, and didn't he do it very nicely? Inside half forward. Now Port have the numbers. Gurdon lurks. So too does Borlase. Kicks far and wide. Here's Francis. Watch him go. Oh, he's got another gear, hasn't he, with a couple of bounces. Watch for Hodges now inside the corridor. The kick's okay. Hodges holds ground. Magnificently done by Damien Hicks, but Port Adelaide still have the numbers. McGuinness, not quite. And the Bulldog defence holds up magnificently well. Hereda, just a little bit of time to Scott Lee, and the Tater puts it towards half-back on the left side.
The kick is high, over the top of it. Borlase just inside the line. Now it's out. Play on to the umpire.
Now, according to you, it should all be over the line. And that one wasn't, was it?
Well, that's the rule, Trigger. It's all I'll pass on. You tell me, was the whole ball over the line? Let's see. Yeah, it might have just rocked up. For Jimmy Wynd. Now this one will be across the line. No worries about that, Kent.
What about that from Phil McGuinness, though? That's just so cruel. When you crumb to the front and square, you push the ball out in front of you. All you need is the bounce, just a bounce up for you, and it's a certain goal. But the ball just eluded him. It wouldn't bounce up for him, and consequently the Bulldogs were able to clear it away from defence.
Now let's have a look at these guys. Stevens and Francis, couple of speedsters out there. That's a good battle. I like that one. Feegit to Jennifer is good work. Brown over the top. Little short one. Look at this. McGuinness. Well, he could loom as a match winner, this kid. 35 out directly in front. He's kicked 1 goal, 1 this term. And he's kicked a team lifter early in this second term. And now he finds the space.
Well, if there's any criticism of Scott Lee, who's a great back pocket player, is that he does give his opponent a fair bit of latitude. Port Adelaide's instruction, obviously, to play through McGuinness.
So McGuinness with 1 goal, 1 recruited from Glenelg this year. Stephen Williams says he's the recruit of the year for his club anyway, let alone all the clubs, and he gets his second, and they're back within 5 points.
And you can see here Darryl Poole again featuring to Feegit. A rough old kick, it finds Geneva quickly on to Brown. Good vision there. Brown could have had a shot with this strong wind, but he found McGuinness dropping back into the space where Hodges had left open. McGuinness is a fine finisher. His second goal for the quarter.
Warren Treadray coming off the ground. He's being replaced by Bamford. 5 points of difference. 13.5 minutes have gone in the second term. It's a real test for Central now. Can they close Port down? Because if they get a run on and get half a dozen quick ones, they're in deep strife. Ginniver, little legs working overtime, puts it up there. Oh, the heat's on for Hicks. Didn't he do it well, though? Handballs across the top and should get a free kick. He does.
I think he needed new esophagus too.
Well, he would have had the knees knocking there because Hodges was in the best spot, wasn't he?
What's your thoughts on that, where a little rover gives away a free kick like that, Ken? I mean, it was a physical free kick. I mean, it's a free kick nonetheless, but you're better off to give a hard one away than a soft one, aren't you?
Exactly, particularly early in finals.
If ever there's such a thing as a good free kick, maybe that was the one.
Well, there certainly is an intimidation factor. You have to get the opposition looking up when the ball is almost in their hands.
And
if you can get that,
yeah.
if you can get that going, then you're right in control. And that's, of course, one of Port Adelaide's traits.
We can never rule them out in finals, no matter what their form's been throughout the year. Stevens steals it away, gives it to McGowan, who almost tripped but held his footing out the side door to Wakeland. We're 15 minutes in.
And just on that, I think it's one of Central District's real strengths also. I think that's where they've improved. I've now been in South Australia for 3 years, and I think I've improved them seen them improve step by step by step to be a real equal competitor on equal footing with this magnificent Port Adelaide side. So we're in for one hell of a final.
Interesting one. That was Wilson having a snap. Oh, Cook now threw it away then, by the way, and it's rushed through by Daniels for a point. Well, it could easily have been called a throw, by the way, and a free kick right on the goal square.
The Bulldogs having everything thrown at them, but they're certainly not relenting. They're not. They're keeping their chin up, kicking against a very, very strong breeze, as you can see there by that kick from Lee. The Winds really grabbed that and put it 4 rows up into the grandstand. Just so difficult.
I did say a moment ago that I thought it might have dropped
You
off.
hear me, Christian?
I might just change my mind there. Right up to within about 25 metres of the goal. It goes off hands. Pressure's on the defence down there. It was well taken by Cook. It sits nicely for Balkwill. Well, I'll change that as well because he had to wait for it and it cost him. So what's Balkwill doing? He's at centre-half forward for the first term. And now at the moment he looks as though he's just come way down looking for a possession. So Central messing around with their structure at the moment. They're pushing Wynd way up the front, looking for a bit of leg speed if they can find some space. Ginniver, Hicks backs himself, does okay. Hodges arrives late. Also in there is Wilson and McGuinness. Can he get 3 for the quarter? He can! Oh, he's hit the post. Well, it looked like it was through, and then it took a break and hit the big post.
I don't know if it's possible. It looked like it went through and bounced back and hit the post.
We'll watch carefully.
Let's have a good look at this. It seems to have gone through there, and the player over the line flicks it back and hits the post. I'm not sure that wasn't a goal.
For my money, I would have given it a big one. I thought it was a sausage roll.
Well, there you go. It's crossed the line there. The player hits it, and it bounces back and hits the post. I suppose, well, the goal umpire's right there. We're not. And to be fair to him, he's right on the spot.
Here's Francis now, within about 12 metres, and Damien Hicks is having a great turn. Scott Hodges was held to 2 last week, and is having a tough time now. Brown picks it off. Well, they've done everything okay until then. And David Brown is tucked hard on the boundary line. Not impossible from there, by the way, because the howling gale from left to right will help him enormously.
That's a natural bent of his kick too, by the way. He likes to kick around corners.
Well, you're backing to kick this. It's difficult as it looks.
Goes with the drop punt. Not sure what he was trying to do there. I thought for a moment perhaps he's looking at Hodges as Stephen Schwerk finds the line.
I think he was tricky. I think it was a little deal.
Just left the goal square vacant, allowed Hodges to run into it, but Damien Hicks again, to his credit, was right on the job.
A lot of points being kicked in this game. The result of a strong and blustery breeze.
16 points so far in the match. Borlase spins around. It's another point. So 3 goals, 8 Port Adelaide. Central 3 goals, 9. It's a 1-point ball game. 18.5 minutes into the second term.
11 possessions for Borlase. And that's not a bad effort, given that he had a headache during the week.
A big one too.
Again, Scott Lee, action replay. Now, the agitator won't be very happy with that, and I'm sure his coach won't be either. But it simply is a function of that gale that's out there at the moment. It's so hard to control. As you can see, the red coat back there trying to control some of the streamers. Sooner or later, Port Adelaide will break through here. The central defence has been okay. Balkwell, Bamford, round the body. It sits okay for Rowan Smith. Now it doesn't. It goes across the face and he can't control it. 1 point the difference. 27 plays 26. And we're a minute from time on.
Right idea, Ken, wasn't it?
Yes, doing exactly the right thing with the football. Anthony Bamford, number 50 for the Magpies, putting it to the front of the square.
Scotty Lee, claimed by Brown. Loose ball, Geneva comes out, claimed by Cook, gets a kick away. Schaefer applies enough pressure on Bourlays for the ball to McGowan. Now the Bulldogs can run it out. Fabian Francis, good contest on Stevens, and McGowan came in late with a flying mare. Sizzle-off.
Francis has been something special on the wing. I think he's
Yes.
been well in the better players on the ground.
He's only 22, you know. What did he do? He went to Melbourne at 16, Brisbane a couple of years, 3 years later. And you forget he's played so much footy that he's only 22, and it's just something special, as you've said. Wakeland, short. Wilson, Bourlays fighting hard for it. Cook comes in there late. It's a tangle of players. We're 20 minutes in. It's a 1 point ball game. Central and Port, a final that always gives you value for money.
And an interchange being made. Big Robert Schaefer coming off the ground for Peter Green.
How do you see that, Ken? Is that what's happened there? Why would that?
Mobility.
But what about the ruck work? Has Schaefer?
Conway's gone down.
Has Schaefer been getting his hand to the ball, though, Ken, in your view?
No, I don't believe he has been getting enough of the football. I think Port Adelaide have been doing pretty well from the packs situation, but Green goes to full forward, obviously in a move to try and exploit the leg speed of Roger Delaney kicking into this breeze. You've got to try and pinch a goal. So I think it's possibly a pretty good move.
6 hit-outs to Schaefer.
The other thing that it is, of course, doing is bringing Big Conway into the game. There's 10 minutes prior to half-time, kicking with the breeze in the third quarter. The Bulldogs will need his marking strength, so get his eye in at this stage of the game is a good move.
Get him into the game. I don't think there's anything wrong with that at all.
Centre wing, far side. Good mark taken by Wakeman.
They need him doing more too.
He's just wasting time, isn't he? Taking as much of it as he possibly can. He might as well unfold the deck chair and sit down for a while.
Bit of suntan cream and a shade.
A nice book. Potter, 30 years of age. Just looks as though he's done it tough in his life, that's all.
He has.
Holds up, strong into the breeze, and it's a good mark taken by Wilson.
You play footy the way Potter has played, Craig Potter, and you're going to look like that. And he was an important player, missing last year's final when they really needed a player like him to dig in. Forward, Borkwell ricochets out, Bamford on the left boot, into space it goes. Scotty can run onto it, it'll bounce nicely for him. He misses it just in the overlap. Now he thumps it on, Pedler with foot speed. Oh, he almost got the kick away. Now Hicks chips it out wide. And underneath it, Rick McGowan working very hard out of the middle, doing a good job.
And that was great defence by the Bulldogs. 4-2, they outnumbered the Port Adelaide Magpies in the goal square, near enough to the goal square, and were able to clear as a result to McGowan.
10 possessions to the little sentiment. Now Wakeland starting to find a little bit of form. He's just following the football around now. The 24-year-old coming up for his 5th kick. Former Port Adelaide junior too, by the way. Couldn't find a regular senior game and has gone on to make a name for himself with the Bulldogs, and a pretty handy name too. Someone might think he might be going back to Port Adelaide this year. I'd suspect he would.
Might go to St Kilda and make it the 3 Wakelands.
Well, I suppose Port Adelaide have the first claim to him, don't they? But perhaps they might swap him to St Kilda. You've got some inside oil there, Ken, have you?
I haven't got any inside oil, but there's always the chance of deals amongst deals.
Darren Smith takes it out of the air, says Ken Sheldon knowingly.
Yeah.
Here comes Francis from 52 metres out.
Look at that.
Searching kick. Searches for a point.
Now that's wrong. I wouldn't say it knowingly. If I knew it, I wouldn't say it.
Well, the scores are tied away.
Well, we've really converted you to a media man now, haven't we?
Certain things you can and cannot divulge.
Yeah.
It's going to be a great second half, isn't it?
Well, it's set up that way. Scores level. 23.5 minutes gone. Scotty Lee comes this side.
And kicks out of bounds on the full again. Not quite.
Touch.
If he'd gone for the trifecta there, the big hook might have come out, Scotty.
Like the heart was in his mouth. Just have one of those days from time to time, don't you?
I'll tell you what I was surprised with, though, that he didn't score more votes in the vote on the count on Tuesday night. Really, he's had a great season, Scott Lee. Cook takes the initiative and does okay. Philip McGuinness has had a good quarter, sets it up in just the spot. Oh, it nearly came back.
Now that ball was kicked from just outside 50, and it's carried like a goal. It's very, very possible to kick from that angle.
Darren Mead on. Darren Smith off. Schwert just inside the line. I'll come back to Scotty Lee, by the way. Triggy finished 6th with 11 votes. Didn't do too badly for a 33-year-old back pocket player. As Fegert, 70 out, goes long towards Hodges. Off hands, look at this. Pull around the corner. A big belter. But it's a point. They've got a 2-point lead.
A couple of the Maggies going crook around him as well. Brown was one of them.
Looking for a handball.
Well, the Bulldogs have kicked 3 goals, 10 behinds. I should say the Magpies have kicked 3 goals, 10 behinds this quarter.
Yep.
Extraordinary, isn't it?
Tells you a story.
In the first quarter, the Bulldogs kicked 3 goals, 8. It is goal face accuracy which is stopping or preventing one of these teams from exploding to a good commanding position.
Poole, who's only had the 6 hit-outs himself, by the way. We're talking about how many Schaefer had amassed. Brown out of bounds. So the margin is 2 points. We're 25 minutes into the second term. 29 playing 27.
Back into play. Mead got there late. Thumps it back. Very good crowd enjoying this.
I just reckon here's where the Port Adelaide team have got to get a runner. They've got to take a risk. They've got to get it out to somebody to try and manufacture a goal out of nothing. Just from a set play here, these throw-ins. They've got to take a risk.
We said it during the first game, didn't we, that you need some space. You probably need to break some rules instead of your setup like that and just smack it to some space.
Exactly. You've just got to get somebody on the front of the ball, or set back well set back so that you can have a simple snapshot for goal. Like the wind will carry it. You'll be able to snap shoot the goal from a distance of probably 40, 45 metres.
Even 50 today with the breeze. Scotty Lee straight to the boundary line. No doubt where that one was going. Timmy tries to keep it in, does so. Scotty Lee follows it up with a little short kick. Potter over the top. Cotton to Scott Stevens. He's thrown away, slung away. Timmy Jinner goes in the back. Play on, said the umpire. Now it's Scotty Lee again. 3 possessions in the space of 10 seconds. That one missed the target. Northeast claimed. Vardy did well. Cotton, Cook, over the top. Stevens can run into space. He'll kick a goal here. He's got a powerful left leg into the breeze and he lines it up. It sits. Oh, and he can't believe he's missed it. That breeze is a very difficult breeze. Everything was set up. It was just beautiful. But the breeze grabbed it and it was on line when it left the boot. But it just couldn't quite hold the line.
That's the reason Schaefer was taken from the ground to bring some more mobility into the Central District forward line. On the overlap, Stevens should have been able to kick that goal. A crucial miss in the context of the game.
They're still in business. Here he is again. He got it from Cook. The short pass is superb. Oh, not so on the take, though, by Peter Green. Really made a mess of that one. He's working hard to make amends, though, around the body. And Delaney holds it up.
When opportunities are so rare, they've had 2 in the last 30 seconds, and they really have muffed them up, the Bulldogs. Very disappointing from their point of view.
2 points into the breeze for them. Port Adelaide could only muster 1. They're still attacking, plundering the goal front at the moment. The handball was deft just across the top. Now Cook loves to kick them. He keeps this one fairly low, but wide as well. And across the line. Well, it is just so hard to control.
Well, these aren't slouches. These guys know how to kick a goal. That'll give you an idea how difficult it is.
And again, we have a situation where if Central can manufacture a goal here from a set play, the throw-in, get one to the running player, it will be just vital.
Be a confidence booster, if nothing else, wouldn't it? Fiacci tackled very strongly. Cook, you couldn't kick it from there if, well, in a million years.
I'd agree with you with that. It was over the line when he did kick it, but the intent was there from Cook to try and centre it to the front of the goal square.
I know a millennium's a long time, but you just...
I reckon if we had a millennium, we might get one. Fegert through, great strength. I like this fella. Oh, look at this. McGowan has marked it. It only just went to 10 metres, by the way. And McGowan has marked 25 metres out directly in front. I thought Fegert's attack was just spectacular. But the little toe poke, oh no, it's gone the required distance, no doubt about that.
A goal has yet to be registered, kicking to the left of screen. So this kick from McGowan in the context of the game.
We've had something like 22 goals, 25 kicked at the screen right of him, and something like about 1 goal, 5 kicked at this end during the last game as well as this one. So the Breeze is very strong. He'll take his best kick for a goal. It wobbles. It's at the post. It is so difficult. You can't realise how difficult it is until you've tried to kick into a gale.
You probably wanted to kick it low, but it'd be so low that you'd hit into the man on the mark, wouldn't you?
Such a difficult ask.
Good take by Conway. He's doing okay, Mark Conway.
This player's a player of the future, make no mistake about that.
The big boy from Wagga.
Oh, he's really worked hard on his fitness and it's showing in his footy.
Short pass, picked off by Gregory Anderson. Now Ando plays it on, uses Benke, is it, who seems to be on the ground now. Tackled. Anderson, Saywell. Oh, it's pretty tough in there. Girdham, wherever Girdham is, it's tough. Handballed out wide. McGowan, protection from Girdham again is excellent. I don't think Jared Cotton exactly thought that ball was going to come to him, but Gowan lined him up though. And finally Port Adelaide close it down. The scores are tied away at 3-11 apiece.
Yeah, McGowan did well to draw the player. He drew 2 of them.
It's good signs for the Bulldog too. They really have arrested the momentum late in the second quarter.
Good comment. Mead down. Brown, right down Brown straight. The siren sounded. So 3-11 to a 3-11. It's a dead set even ball game at half-time, Ken. And the Bulldogs and Port Adelaide from here go in on even footing.
Well, what can only be described as, well, very difficult conditions with a strong breeze, probably 6-7 goals now, very blustery, inconsistent, having a great effect on the delivery of the players. The game has been fantastic except for at the goal face. 3 goals kicked by the Bulldogs in the first quarter, kicking with a strong wind. None to Port Adelaide, 3 in the second to the Magpies. Girdham, Cook, Saywell, Vardy, McGowan and Lee, best players for the Bulldogs. For the Magpies, Lees, Francis, Borlase, Figat, Poole and McGuinness with an explosive second quarter.
Remember that in 8 attempts, the Bulldogs have never beaten Port Adelaide in the final. Is today the day? They're locked away at 3-11 apiece at half-time on ABC Sport.
Now to pick up this second half, keep in mind it's 3-11 apiece. It should be a great second half to pick it up. David Mackay.
Thanks, Stephen. On the boundary, we've got Mark Nailey, and in the special commentary position, we have Ken Sheldon joining us for the second half. Poole takes it out of ruck, handballs it away. Cook goes in hard. Wilson tries to throw a fist at it. McGowan quite happy to wrap it up. And you would expect that, Ken, with the Bulldogs having the breeze in this third term, they'll need to kick 4 or 5 goals and be ahead by perhaps 25 or 30 points at three-quarter time.
No question of that. Strong 5 or 6 goal breeze blowing to right of screen. The only change really that's been made for the match is Benke, number 24, has come on for Port Adelaide to pick up Peter Vardy, who exploded off interchange in the first quarter.
I might ask you in just a moment or two to give us the matchups. Actually, you might do it now while Jimmy Wynd sets up for a shot at goal.
Well, probably, very importantly, in the midfield, Girdham is on Ginniver, Cook is on Brown, and Wilson is, number 15, is tagging McGowan, who has been magnificent, wearing number 23 for Central District. Jimmy Wynd,
yep,
taking a kick for goal. His opponent, George Fiarchi.
Righto, so a kick for goal from 55 with the breeze at his back. It's coming around nice. It's a good-looking kick. First blood in the second half to the Bulldogs. Jimmy Wynd gets his first. The Bulldogs go to 4-11, 35 Port Adelaide, 3-11, 29. We're 1 minute 20 seconds in to the third term.
Jimmy Wynd is a good ball getter. He's very dangerous around goals. Our last outing against Sturt, he kicked 4 goals in 1 quarter. So we'll be looking at him to repeat that performance for us.
Minute and a half gone in the third term. Port Adelaide, well, they've really got some big work in front of them as they kick into this howling gale here at Football Park. The second semi-final. McGuinness, well smothered by Wakeland. The rebound is taken by Bamford. There's so much of the ball across that far side. It's not surprising it's across there again. Darren Smith Plays it on, little chip kick. McGuinness, tough for him to control. The short ones are being put in by Lee. From the ground it goes, and Hicks belts it to the line.
Phil McGuinness. He was quiet in the first term, but he exploded in the second quarter. Had 4 or 5 shots for goal probably in the end, and really was something special.
Port Adelaide have won 8. Central zip in their head-to-head encounter. Is today the day the Bulldogs are going to break the hoodoo? Mead towards goal. Borlase correction, and it's a point.
Daisy Borlase, prolific in possession, winning ability, runs forward of the play to the spaces on the half-forward flank, quite often receiving the ball on his own. It's a good part of the Port Adelaide structure, and again today he has had a lot of the football.
Damien Hicks, the 1995, or one of the 1995 actually, he shared it up. Reserves Magarey medals. Around the body from Anderson. As far as Gurdon. Now Roger hands it back towards McGowan. Tracks across the centre square. Balkwell, front spot. Looming late was Francis. Couldn't do anything with it. Cotton's in there. Central have made a change, by the way. David Green comes on for Craig Potter.
Yes, we might mention Saywell and Fabian Francis on the outer wing. And North East is picking up Jared Cotton, and North East has done a terrific job. Second semi-finals, Tricky. What about that? They've only played twice.
Well, one of them was last year when the Magpies marched into the final. Watch for Vardy now. He's on the run. He's doing it free and easy, and he has missed. Well, Ken, you get an opportunity like that, you have to hit it, don't you? 1 goal and 3 behinds for Vardy.
Yes, on the run, that's his go out there. He's been brought on to finish the play. He was able to get free from that track. The ball was put out in front of him, was able to run onto it. He must be a better finisher.
Fiacci off hands. So too Fegit. Nice little stamp of class about him. So easily that kick could have gone astray. Green, Borkwell just held but played it on. Did okay from the ground. And doing okay also is Poole. Wilson evades the tackle. Little worm burner, can't do much with that, Bamford, but it was a nice give, wasn't it? Handballed at the Brown to Rowan Smith. Port Adelaide are building towards Hodges. The space as the ball holds up. Ordinarily it would have got there, but with the breeze it just wasn't going to. Hicks. It's a nice little throw too, by the way, from McGuinness. Play on. Anderson emerges with it. What's on offer? Nothing. Decides to go for the goals. It's holding up. Borlase gets a spoil on, and Darren Smith won't be able to stop Hereda from hitting the boundary line.
Having an interesting duel, Darren Smith and Brian Hereda. Smith, number 28 for the Port Adelaide side. Great deal of experience.
Yeah, there's Port Adelaide's record in second semi-finals. They've played 43, won 24, lost 19. McGuinness, snap. Look at the breeze, grab a hold of that one. Hicks, over the top. Now, the ability for the Bulldogs defence to work it out and run it forward is paramount here, but Fabian Francis sits back and marks it. He's 60 out. Punches it into the breeze. Look at it. It almost comes back. Schaefer took front position. D. Smith spoiled ball. A snap. Oh, it's a point. You could just feel a collective breath taken by the Port Adelaide fans.
They really lifted their rating, Port Adelaide, in this last couple of moments. The structure was good. Francis was sitting a kick back from behind the play. He was able to net that ball in and then put it in quickly. Smith, what about the strong right fist, and then Borlase at the front and squared a crumb.
3 points to Borlase, Tricky.
Lee kicks in, finds Cook. And the little monster goes to centre half back. It's McGowan. Continues to pick up kicks at will as McGowan. 18th possession for him. Short pass, finds Cotton. Oh, Jared does it beautifully. Now watch for Stevens. Actually, Peter Garrett's in town this weekend, isn't he, by the way?
Stop it.
Round he goes. It's not PG out there, is it? This is Wakeman. No, it was Stevens, by the way. Kicks up towards full forward and misses. So 4 goals and 13. Plays 3 goals and 13. 6 points the difference.
Wakeland started at half back and had young Warren Treadray taken from the ground. Is now opened up on the half forward line.
Now, what do you reckon the Bulldogs need to lead by at 3/4 time to hold on?
I think we're all in agreement. 4 or 5 goals is certainly the minimum requirement.
Actually, one factor will be as it gets black here that if the change comes through and dumps some rain on us, if Central are in front, will help them enormously.
Brown steals it away. Careers away, goes long. Scotty Lee back on McGuinness. Brings it back into the midfield. Look at this. Gurdon has runners flanking him. Ignores them. Goes long and low. Conway just too far. Out the back door. Jimmy Wynd. Oh, he got one high. The umpire let that one go. Binky crashed through. Jimmy Wynd comes again. Second effort was good. Now Northeast, who's done a sterling job today on Jared Cotton, floats one high. Saywell, the big stretch. Borkwell, he got a kick. How did he kick that? Still got it away. Geneva dispatches it. It goes wide, and Bamford, right on the chest, runs onto it. Now there's leads aplenty downfield. Quick kick forward into space, but it's not well directed. Wilson was the target, but it hit Scotty Lee.
The Lee kick had to be good. It was. Oh, good, and got absolutely clobbered. He's going to get at least 25. They remonstrate, and so they should, the Central lads. Not with the umpire, though, boys. Just leave him alone.
Well, I disagree with that. I don't believe that's a penalty. I think it was all in the course of the action, and they just committed himself, Darren Smith. So as far as I'm concerned, that's, well, favouritism for Central District. There
That's 50, and I can tell you that's the most generous 50 you'll ever see, because if he was on the back end of the square to finish up inside the 50-metre line, that's about 60 to 75.
Might have been another 25 to boot. Might have been something else happen.
So Roger Girdham shouldn't have a problem with the distance now. He's kicked 94 career goals in his 232 games. The little hurdy-gurdy from 52 metres out, hits it, and Central go two clear. 5-13 to 3-13.
And that's a tremendous captain's goal after receiving that heavy knock from Darren Smith.
Roger Girdham is a very inspirational leader. Now he's the guy who puts his body on line for us, and come finals time, that's what you really need, is a guy who is going to lead you from the front.
And he leads from the front pretty well, doesn't he? Roger Girdham gets his first. He's got 1-1, by the way. High amongst the Bulldogs' best. Great battle with ball A's. As umpire Elliott puts them at it again. It's a 12-point ball game. 9 minutes into the third term, the premiership quarter. Now you've got to query the preparation. The Bulldogs have had last week off. They'll play today. If they win, they go through to the grand final. They'll have one game in 3 weeks. Well, you just wonder whether that, maybe they're not better off to front up next week against Norwood.
Not
Wilson.
fit, David. You go straight through to the grand final if you can.
All right, comment Stephen Trigg. Take your point.
I mean, you couldn't select to take that option or that route through anyway, and the fact is, as Stephen Wright says himself, and I don't think he's talking it up, Ken, is that he's got a few old characters out there who could do with a breather.
Yep.
Potter's off the ground now, moments into this third quarter, possibly through the effect of just the physical bruising that's been going on. So he's certainly, I believe, if you can go straight in, you take it.
Brown, his kick only goes as far as Stephen Schwell. It's getting very dark here at Football Park. In the second semi, the winner through to the grand final. Oh, look at it. Fiacci's kick. Look at that one hold up. Good luck on the take, lads. Well done by Ball A's, and finds the boundary line far side.
Of course, they can turn the lights on in this magnificent stadium. But gee, I just go back to that charity goal from Central District. Like, Roger Girdham was good enough to kick it, but to me, a charity goal moments into the third quarter. A crucial goal in the context of the closeness of the scores.
Darren Smith front position. Schaefer it was who thumped it down, patted it down. Rowan Smith over the top of the ball. Now the lights are on, fellas. The league have turned them on at half time, so as we get a bit darker, the lights will really start to have an impact. And that is the rule in the double headers. The lights will go on at half time. We're 10.5 minutes into the third term.
There's been a lot of this. Boundary throw-ins, ball-ups around the ground, and both sides have matched up one-on-one all over the ground. A lot of 50-50 contests, hard at the man, hard at the ball.
Borlase had his kick partly smothered. Central District now on the run, and the Bulldogs get within about 30. Conway, well taken by Paul. Hands off to Fiacci. Now he knew that the only option was there was Anderson, and he was covered 2-on-1. Look at the speedsters go. Stevens flicks it back, and finally it goes across the line. Well, 10 points for trying, but Vardy had such a head of steam up that he ran straight into the ball. 2 goals the difference. Central District have the advantage. We've played 11.5 minutes of this term. Laid down, Cook. Couldn't quite get clear. Who's in the front spot down there? Quick kick. Is a goal. And Wakeland, who's been switched forward, it would seem, gets his first. 6-13 the Doggies. Port Adelaide at 3-13.
That's a tremendous goal from the Central District team. 11 minutes into this third quarter. You can see from the boundary throw-in where Cook's got it onto Wakeland. Wakeland with great agility.
Michael Wakeland is a very versatile player who can play either in the back line, or if we do get in trouble down forward, he can go down there and hopefully kick some goals for us.
Bounce down in the centre. And Central District, David, now 18 points in front. They're going to need, as you say, a couple more.
Well, they've got time, haven't they? 12.5 minutes gone, third term. Roger Girdham having a rest. The coach just, I think, with Potter and Girdham rotating off the bench, he's just trying to work his older blokes evenly and keep them in some semblance of freshness. Treadray warming up on the boundary for Port Adelaide as Poole takes the free out of the midfield. Chips it wide, out the far side as Lees. He hasn't had the same impact today as last week against Norwood. Schwert, Ginniver. Schwert did pretty well, flicked it forward. Ginniver comes out with the ball. He keeps bullocking it through.
All of the above.
Well, it's a commentator's nightmare, isn't it, when you see players everywhere going at it. Borkwell. Schaefer. Oh, George just stole it away. Cotton's in there. Wilson on the ground, gathers it in. And George just makes sure that that ball is held in as Schaefer comes in on top. And there he is, the young gun, Warren Treadray. 17 years of age, has really made an impact so far this season. And he's only played, what, half a dozen games.
Well, it's a necessary move by Stephen Williams. He brings him back on, perhaps onto the forward flank. Perhaps Wakeland will have to go back.
Wynd from 50. Oh, he's nailed another one. He gets his second. And the Bulldogs, in what is emerging, if not as a match-winning burst, certainly threatening that way. 4 goals of difference.
You can see here from a pack situation, Wynd has just read it the better. The wind carried the ball in the air. No one was able actually to make clean contact with it. But Wynd running towards goal, the recipient of really an easy ball, but then balanced up and put through a fine goal, a crucial goal for the Bulldogs.
We nominated 5 goals, the margin that the Bulldogs would have to at least have a three-quarter time. Well, they've got 4 of them. Borlay's out of the midfield, hasn't really cleared the centre yet. Look at that, 5 players vying for that. Good honest leaps. Saywell off the ground, goes through half forward. Binky in front of Vardy. I think they've recognised that Vardy was a danger player, and Pedler has been moved away from Vardy, and Binky's got the job. Good grab, Bamford.
Port Adelaide have lifted just a little notch or two.
Well, they have. They've gone into emergency overdrive. The kick, however, wasn't special. Scotty Lee feeds off. Herrera from half-back. Blast one long and high towards Conway. Well, he stood on that ball. It could have been dangerous for the ankle. Tiachi tries to flick it out the back door. Does so successfully. Northeast crashes through. Pushes it forward. Jim Wynd to Cotton. Northeast man gets a kick and goes forward. Where's Borkwell? Lees is right there with him. That's a good battle. Fegan thumps it on. Borkwell steals it, kicks it. It's smothered. Cotton off the ground. Look at this, a handball over the top. It's working. Conway gets it. They're 5 up. Just what they needed, and they've still got time for another 2 or 3. Conway gets his first.
And what tremendous play from Jim Wynd. Reading that play back at centre-half forward. He collected the crumb. Borkwell in there just trying to make something happen. Cotton off the ground, just forced it forward to Wakeland, who featured again in the link for another goal to Conway.
Mark Conway at 6'6" is very vital for us. If Mark Conway kicks goals, we'll go on and win the game.
So 5 goals in this third term. In the space of 15 minutes for the Bulldogs. Goals at the 1st, 8th, 10th, 13th and now 15th minute mark.
Kicking in danger. Kicking in danger. Against McGuinness on Wynd.
Aren't they on a roll now? Wynd kicks forward to half forward. Well picked off though by Benke. And Wynd with 16 possessions has been very influential. It's a real test for Port Adelaide. They had a bruising encounter last week against the Redlegs. And they've got some sore spots. They've got some doubts over their captain in terms of his hamstring, Tim Ginniver. Roger Delaney, a little doubt about him. So too Borlays. So the heat's on for them. Schwert got it from Stevens. Sitting there is Wakeland, who does have the leap. He had the best spot as well, but Benke cleans it up and finds the boundary line. At least he looks for it. And Northeast does the rest.
That looks like Brad Pethers, our boundary umpire, has been interchanged.
Too many throw-ins today.
I think it might have been an injury. You don't see boundary umpires come off too often. Vardy around the corner. Conway tries to flick it out the back to Cotton, who feeds it off to Stevens on his left boot. Around the corner, it's out of bounds on the full. Couldn't bring it back enough. We're 17 minutes in. Score check, 61 plays 31. It's a 30-point margin. Now, is that enough, Kim?
There's plenty of time for the Bulldogs to extend this lead. They certainly have by far the majority of play at this stage, and there's no reason to suggest that Port Adelaide can fight back.
Stephen Williams said during the week that as George Fiacci and Potter go at it, Stephen Williams said that Port Adelaide have 40% improvement in them from last week, which was ominous, but at the moment they haven't displayed that.
What about Georgie? Didn't he work hard for that free?
He was working hard on Potter. Georgie's kick goes about 40 metres, didn't hold up too badly. Darren Smith read it the best, front spot for him. Roger Gurdon preparing to come back on for the Bulldogs. The Darren Smith kick is excellent. Scott Lee gets run into and gets a free kick.
What's called a hospital kick.
Still going on with it just at the top of the screen as you saw. Stephen Schwert launches one at it. Bionic boot from him, and way up over the back went Wakeland, but he couldn't get hold of the ball.
It's a dangerous player since being shifted to half forward. He started at half back, played particularly well, and now has been instrumental in a number of Central District goals. But you can see the Bulldogs are transferring play from half back into the centre corridor methodically. Their structure is very good.
They're distributing the ball pretty well. Anderson chops this one off, though. Pass was intended for Vardy. It would have been a good one, but Anderson read it beautifully. Dropped back into the hole and chopped it off. Now here's a left footer. He's looking to go straight down the ground. He does so. Now he switches it to the far side. Bamford off hands of Wilson. Rows it nicely, drills it long and low. D. Smith marks it. Kick number 6 coming up for him. No, he handballs. Now, the Magpies need to run it hard into the breeze. Lee's doing well. Chips it in. Where's Scotty? He's underneath this one. It needs to sit. Didn't sit kindly. It does for Hicks. The handball comes out to Potter. Run down by Fabian Francis. Still gets the kick away. Is that a push? No, said the umpire. Play on. And look at the little legs of George Fiacci. Pumping, pumping, pumping. And straight across the line.
So Potter comes off, and Roger Gurdon comes back onto the scene. Absolutely electric atmosphere here at the moment in the second semi. The winner gets a grand final berth. The loser will have to confront a very accomplished Norwood side in the prelim final next week. Smacks of last year, doesn't it? Central, though, if they can go straight into the final, they will have broken the mould. Cotton, McGowan, always cool. The pass is exquisite.
Don't see better than that.
What was terrific about that passage of play was the Jared Cotton handball, being pressured but still able to just hold his composure and feed it off, perfectly weighted. And then the McGowan pass was probably even better.
Well, particularly when we've seen so many that have just sprayed it with this breeze, and that one was just perfect.
Conway is a left footer. This should be a relatively simple goal for him to kick.
As you would say, a soda. Oh, it's there. Beautiful leg. Mark Conway gets his second, and Central blow out to a lead that the guy sitting alongside me reckon they'll need 6 goals a difference, 6 and a bit goals a difference, 20 minutes gone.
Well, they certainly will need that type of lead, because you've got Hodges as a full forward, a player that is capable to kick 6 off his own boot. So it really does create a lot of interest as we come into this last quarter. This next 6 or 7 minutes, crucial for Port Adelaide's chances of winning this second semi-final.
Every time I see Mark Conway, he just looks to me to be better and better. Roger Delaney's had his hands full. He's done a good job, to be fair. But Conway kicks 2 important goals in this term to take his tally for 56 for the season. Schaefer wins it down. McGuinness thumps it forward. Scotty Lee taps it on. Ginniver on the left boot. It was awkward but effective. Schwert claimed by Borlase. Couldn't get that one out. It's a dead heat. The umpire said he had no chance. And in comes Derek Woodcock, the umpire, and says, fellas, I'll have a bounce.
Stephen Schwert playing at half-back. Really a great player, but what a magnificent tackle by Daisy Borlase. Good defensive work in the forward line.
McGowan to Schwert was good work. The left footer goes to the spaces of the outer wing. Borkwell runs after it, Lee's with him. Oh, he's just played hot dog. Straight over the top, gets the kick away. Jimmy Wynd, George Fiarchi, good contest. Vardy claims George, who goes to ground. The loose ball falls to the back. Lee, claimed by Borkwell, still gets up in the tackle. Did very well. Saywell, a little dribbler, wasn't it? Across the line.
You've got to say, from here, it just looks as if Central District are fresher. The Bulldogs really seem to be covering the ground. A lot more spring in their heel than the Magpies.
Well, it stands to reason, doesn't it? They've had that break, a little freshener. Port Adelaide were engaged in a bruising encounter last week against Norwood. Now, they've thrived on that, but today at the moment they're just finding it difficult. Central are building though. They're outside the 50-metre line. Working it back is Lee. Around the shoulder he goes. Within about 15. Watch for Wakeland. Not quite this time. The Maggies on full alert back there. They slap it towards the line, and Port Adelaide, though, still don't have first access to the footy. Cotton does. Takes it. Loses it. Delaney gets it back. And he loses it. Now northeast. And watch Paul go for the boundary line. Just like that. Good opportunity for us to ask Mark Nayley, as we'll wait for the applause to die down so that Nails can just hear what's going on. But Mark Nayley, this 6-goal burst from Central might just be the answer.
I just missed that question then, Stephen, but at the moment, just down here at ground level, the Central Districts really are just exploiting the Port Adelaide side with their pace. They just seem to be finding the space at the moment, and that just, their runners through with McGowan through the middle. They're looking at Cook, you're looking at Wynd, who's had a great quarter. Also, Stevens out on the wing. They really are blistering this Port Adelaide side at the moment.
Mark, the question is 6 goals enough?
Well, this quarter is only 23 minutes long at the moment, just getting into the 24-minute mark. There's still plenty of time to go. So another couple of goals would make this game very interesting.
How's the intensity at ground level?
Oh, it is just a buzz down here. The supporters base, just the support from both sides has been fantastic. The crowd are enjoying it, but the players really are. They are working hard. Just look at the faces of the Central players. I'm up close to them right here at the moment. They're right in front of me. They really are been working hard. You can just see the expression that they have had a hard quarter of football. Both sides have.
Boundary thrown, grandstand side. What will be interesting to see is how Port Adelaide set themselves up, and indeed how Central set up. Stevens, the little toe poke at it after he'd lost possession of the ball. It wasn't clean, it's cost them. And a nice crisp entry has gone begging. I wonder what Central will do, Ken, if they can preserve this 6-goal lead. How will they set up in the last term to try and shut the Maggies out?
Bottle it up as much as you can, but it's been interesting. The first, second and now third quarters, Central District have had opportunities to kick goals, and they just haven't been able to capitalise. They need one here to put a fair bit of icing on their day.
Cook to Schaefer. Hurried kick into space. Jimmy Wynd's there. Wakeland's there. Will the ball sit inside play? It won't. Now, my mind casts back to the night grand final just a short time ago when Central kicked so very poorly that night against the Eagles, Triggy. Just, what, 2 years ago. And they lost that game. But today, I don't know that 9-14 is necessarily a bad result.
Gurdon out the back. Smacks it up there high, and northeast does well to sit back. I thought he'd taken the mark. Was denied it in the end though, and Feegit runs away with the ball. There is absolutely nothing on offer. So Scott Stevens, who's structurally playing his wing exceptionally well, belts it back up there, and Wakeland, do you think he hasn't provided some fizz forward of centre? Takes it and snaps it, and probably goals it if you go by his own reaction. He has. Number 9 for the Dogs gets his second. Oh, it's a tough lead now, 10-14 to 3-13.
He's been the spark. He's kicked 2 off his own boot in this quarter, and he's been in a couple of others with a linking handball. That kick from Feegit perhaps could have went to the safety of the boundary line, but what a great leap from the athletic Wakeland. Recovered on the left foot, a fine snap for goal, and that's the one that the Bulldogs needed. 26-minute mark of this third quarter. They really have made a big difference in the scoreline.
Been all Central District this term. They've kicked 7 goals, 3. Port Adelaide have managed 2 points into the breeze. So it's been a big quarter for the Bulldogs, and you'd suggest with only 13 goals kicked in total for the match, Port Adelaide are going to have to come home with something like 11 goals, or 8 or 9 goals, bare minimum, in the final term to get up and win. They are capable of doing it, by the way. Schaefer and Poole get a lecture from umpire Woodcock. Rule is they must give the umpire room to bounce. Treadway over the top, thumps it down. Cook tried a mid-air kick. Brown handballs it out, stolen away by Saywell. He gets upended. Now Geneva, hurried kick. It's smothered. Look at the desperation in the midfield. You don't think this is not for real. Schwert, toe poke. Just got it away. It was an important kick. Schaefer, a big floater through the half-forward line. Delaney, the big spoiler, was a pickaxe. Just destroyed from behind. Now Binky goes wide. Treadway was the target. Doing very well was Brenton Daniel. And look at this. Look at this big Mark Wakeland. Gird him off. Potter on. And Wakeland.
Look at that for a mark. Eyes only for the football. Great athleticism, great spring in the heel. Will kick from about 55 with a strong breeze.
And he's got 2 goals, 1 this term. This one floats to the point of the square. Conway front position. Loose ball falls from Fegert. He took the fly and still recovered. Did it pretty well, the big man. He's impressed today. One of Port Adelaide's best, no doubt about that. And the boundary line beckons. Don't forget, all these matches on ABC, all the finals matches as well, are available from the ABC shop. Dial the 8343-4601 number to order, or call in at any ABC shop. Now that's out of play again, so Port Adelaide now playing for time.
Well, they have to. They can't afford the Bulldogs to get another goal. No, it's just imperative that they hold up play, perhaps explode out of this area and manufacture one themselves, but they cannot allow the Bulldogs to get one.
Binky, good contest, came back, knew that Gurdon was coming, held his line.
He's played well, Brian Binky, number 24 for Port Adelaide since coming on off interchange, and that is just a great exhibition of courage. Eyes only for the football, knew what was coming from behind him and really stood his ground.
You hear it coming, don't you? 29 minutes gone of the third term, and if the third quarter is the premiership quarter, Ken, clearly the Bulldogs have had the upper hand.
It's been an exciting quarter of football. They've structured up well, they've brought the ball back through the midfield, and they've had contributions from all of their players.
George goes off the ground forward. Over the top of a Treadway, tries to control it, does so. Now to Brown, a hurried left footer into space. D. Smith front position. Oh, Herrera was good. The crumb falls to Potter. Through half forward he goes. Taken away by Poole, chipped wide. And Borlase, who was concussed last week, we didn't give him any chance of playing, but he's played so very well. Kick number 16, 2 handballs for him. And Fabian Francis, the runner-up in the Magarey medal, also playing pretty fair footy. Oh, good work, Hicks. What a game he's played on Scotty Hodges. Kept the big full forward down to 1 goal 1 and has played a pretty fair game himself.
Really did read the flight of the ball well, did Hicks, and what a magnificent kick to his number 1 ruckman in Schaefer.
How do you rate Schaefer's game?
Well, it's been a reasonable game. This third quarter, however, has been his most significant.
Right when they need him. It's important to see the players that emerge when a club needs them. There's been a few this term. George Fiarchi, well, been a wonderful stalwart. Port Adelaide fans are urging him to continue on next year. So an interesting quarter, Ken, dominated by the Bulldogs.
The Bulldogs were magnificent. They kicked 7 goals for the quarter. Wynd, Gurdon, Wakeland with a couple, Conway with a couple. Fantastic array of skills and discipline shown by the Central District machine. They looked slicker, they looked quicker, and they really did use the ball well. 6 goals, 7 goals in the quarter has made a real big difference. The Central District side are well in control of this game as they have to defend this lead now as they kick into a very, very stiff breeze.
So at 3/4 time of the second semi-final, can the Bulldogs steamroll on and go straight into the grand final? They're leading 10-14-74. Port Adelaide at 3-13-31. The margin at 3/4 time, 43 points. You're viewing the second semi-final live and exclusive on ABC Sport.
This last quarter unfolds, but this really should be a magnificent 30 minutes of football. Port Adelaide know they need the rest. They want to march into the grand final, but they're going to have to pinch it from Central District, who have a 7-goal break. Ken Sheldon, who do you think will take it?
I've no doubt that the Bulldogs can take this game out. They really look in charge.
Well, the margin's 43 points. It'll be Port Adelaide at their best if they can get up and win this second semi-final. Can the Bulldogs break a hoodoo of 32 years? They've never beaten Port Adelaide in any final. Today might just be the day. Peter Green works hard for one. Caught one in the head, said the umpire. And will go back and take the free kick.
And Wakelin is playing loose man in defence, but coach Stephen Wright will have to make a decision because it is Poole in the forward pocket and his opponent is the much lighter and smaller Jack Daniels.
Fair enough. Wakelin pulled off the ball, got the handball away. Schaefer on the left boot goes towards Jimmy Wynd, but George Fiarchi in the back pocket. Now they'll play right down the middle. There'll be nothing sure. There'll be no flanks for Port Adelaide in this term. They'll run and charge at everything. McGowan, short, Girdham through traffic, still dispatches a kick, goes towards full forward. Conway just arched underneath it, left foot, pushes it towards goals. It's bouncing back, it's hit the point post, and it's out of play. We're a minute in, and the Bulldogs are on their forward zone.
And hitting that point post is actually a stroke of good luck for the Bulldogs. Any points that are kicked will be a very good result for the Port Adelaide side, as Roger Delaney is such an efficient disposer out of defence.
Kicks it pretty well, doesn't he? Mead wins this one down, ricochets off. Binky kicks out to space. Girdham, first man there in front of Fiarchi, tries to work for the free kick but recovers the ball to the point of the square it goes. Now who's back there? Fegut's the only man. Oh, he read it beautifully.
4-1. 4 Port Adelaide players to Conway, the only Central District player in that goal square.
So Fegut towards half-back, Borkwell from behind spoils, Saywell just inside the line. I think he'd be happy to see it go out. Oh, he's brought it back in. Bamford steals it away, gives it to Lees. The Bulldogs need to defend, and Scotty Lee does it beautifully. At half-back, the old man of the Bulldog team, I wonder whether he'll retire if they win the flag this year. You'd like to think he could go on for another year or two. I think he might.
Of course he can. Simon Lewis now taking up residence in the back pocket, so Stephen Wright quickly has actioned that problem.
Well, the lights in full effect now. And I wonder if the lights will stay on for Port Adelaide, because they've got a lot of work in front of them now. Over 7 goals they have to outscore the opposition by, and on tired legs it's pretty tough. Didn't Roger the Dodger make a bit more of that? Girdham gets his kick inside half forward. It just holds up into what is still a fairly strong breeze. Benke's there. If he was looking for Delaney, he missed him by a mile across the boundary line.
My eyes are deceiving me, actually. It is Wakelin that's gone back on the Poole, and Scott Lee now is the loose player in defence, as Daniels has picked up McGuinness. So the Central District side really are just playing a loose man in defence, trying to defend this lead, but they need to score a goal early in the quarter.
Great tribute to Wakelin, isn't it? Playing both ends of the ground where the ball is bound to be. Short pass picked up by Cook. Fiarchi was just drawn into the play, turned over, went straight back. Cook hasn't got one yet. Now a chance.
A very difficult chance. So he's a left footer, and the breeze is blowing very strongly over his left. So the ball will fade to the front of the goals.
Fade to the right.
Tim Cook.
Now he kicked four goals, 1 in the corresponding match last year, and 2 important last quarter goals.
Kicked one from way over the far flank, didn't he?
Yeah, that was a ripper. A real team lifter.
21st possession for Cook. Oh, he gave it a chance. Oh, looked great, but a little deceptive from the camera. Through for behind.
Well, it was near an impossible shot with the way the wind's blowing, the angle he was on. A very, very difficult shot for goal. Port Adelaide will have to make the most of this kick-in situation.
Towards Mead. Crashed in. Girdham interfered. The advantage allowed to fly. Binky. Oh, booming kick towards full forward. Out comes Poole. Sets himself. Hodges. He can do this, you know. He can kick 4 or 5 and set them back up. But Scotty Lee rebounds away. Grubbers one out wide. It's Girdham coming off. And Potter will come back on, and Hodges marks. He's 35 out. So Girdham comes off. Potter comes back on. The player management by Coach Wright's been pretty good. Scotty Hodges, an important kick. Oh, the crowd likes it. What an educated kick. He gets his second. It's an important one.
Scott Hodges, his production last week of only 2 goals was probably one of his lowest for the year, but his work off the ball was tremendous, and I'm sure this week that he'll get a lot more than 2 goals.
What do you reckon?
Well, a tremendous goal, a 2-goal turnaround. The one that Cook misses, Delaney kicks it out straight down the middle of the ground, and eventually it ends up with a Hodges goal.
Port fans getting excited. 5.5 minutes gone. 4-13. They trail 10-15. Lots and lots of work in front of them yet. David Brown on screen. He's going to have to get some more of the footy if they're going to do okay. So we see Roger Gurdon and Cotton just sitting on the boundary side. Jared Cotton looks fairly disappointed, doesn't he? So I can only hope from his point of view that it's not a very serious injury. Although when you carry it off at 3/4 time, it's got all the hallmarks of a serious one. Michael Wilson, the pressure was good. Now towards half forward where McGowan's lurking, and Ricky won't do anything except let it go over the line.
They really have to absorb time. 6 minutes into this final quarter. When you consider, in the context of the game, not a single goal has been scored to left of screen. So, from my calculations, the Magpies have to kick at least 7 goals.
I think that's a fair comment. And I think they're capable of it. Don't take anything away from the Bulldogs, but I don't know that there's a team in the competition better that's shutting you down than Centrals. And they enjoy a pretty healthy lead at the moment. I don't think they'll let it wither away. Fabian Francis won that tap and thumps it across the line.
And at the moment, the Bulldogs are setting up their structure. See Scott Lee as a loose man in defence. Everyone else on the ground is going man for man.
Well, there's some Bulldogs.
It's just like being at Manchester United v Liverpool. Port Adelaide now. Lee, he is the man who's just dropped back into the spot. Well spotted.
And that's his role. He's going to have to show a great deal of courage and just simply sit back exactly in that spot.
Well, you need your smart players doing that, don't you? Players who can read it, and he's the man. Wakeland holds up into the breeze. Still a considerable breeze. Mead gets there. They need a lot from Darren. Anderson should get a clear run at it. Handballs it across the top. It's going to go awry, though. It's well picked out by Borlase. Oh, great tackle by Peter Green. High. Play on, the umpire said, but Bamford stops, so it'll come back.
It's a high tackle in the end, but it was tremendous desperation. Borlase, as he so often does the ball, wide on this half-forward flank.
So Daisy's kick within about 35, dropping back. Great take by McGowan.
Hasn't he played a great game?
McGowan would be close to my best player on the ground at this stage.
I'd go with you, Ken.
He's had a pretty good year, hasn't he, McGowan? A lot of people were very surprised that he never polled better than he did in the McGarry medal count on Tuesday night. But again, with 23 possessions, the class players, the good players, come out in the big games, don't they?
Ricky McGowan still polled 12, Tree. I mean, gee, I think last year when he was a favourite, he hardly got amongst it at all.
Schaefer sits back and takes a pretty good mark.
He's responded since half-time, Schaefer.
He's had 12 hit-outs, and that was going to be the critical area, because when Poole's going to smack into him all day, and Poole alternatively for him, he's had a pretty good day, Poole, around the ground. And on the far side, we're going to have Feagit with the footy.
Feagit drives long. Poole, Hodges, 2 deep came Hodges, and Brenton Daniel brings the ball down and holds it in, forces a bounce. Now you've got to suggest that David Flood will be right in 2 weeks' time for the grand final. So Port Adelaide will need to find another tool to cope with Flood. But the heartbreak will be who will miss out from the Bulldogs, because they're going to have to squeeze another player into their grand final side, and somebody's going to miss out. Scotty Lee races away with time for a bounce. He'll go for the boundary line. That's where it'll finish. Out of bounds on the full. Now that's his 4th today, by the way. Not that I'm gloating that fact, but you never see Scott Lee make a mistake. And today, with this breeze, he's made 4.
Port Adelaide now with Delaney. Time's running out for them. It sneaks out the back. Wilson, if it sits, he's okay. He's on the left leg. This is a pressure kick. And he's missed it. Oh, it's a big kick.
Wilson has had the job on McGowan right from the outset. McGowan has outran him. He's outplayed him in possessions, opportunities like that, when you get them, if you can make the most of them, can really do a lot to help level the ledger.
Little stat today, fellas, in the 2 games, there's been 30 goals, 33 scored at the end right of screen, and 1 goal 10 to the end left of screen into the breeze, and that'll give you a fair idea what the breeze has done today.
I'll just amend that. It's not into the breeze, it's into the hurricane, because it has been just so strong. I mean, that's the reason. It has been a monster of a wind.
Well, Ian Mogridge, our stat man, who loves those little details, just passes them on from time to time.
It's done well. Anderson. Ando breaks and then hits the goal square. Who can take a mark for the black and white boys? Hodges. Oh, the spoil was perfectly timed, but Hodges around the corner just misses.
So luck really isn't going the Magpies' way. We've seen in the 3rd quarter the ball bounce over Hodges' head up in the goal square at the other end. Central were able to clear it out of defence, and we've seen on that occasion a chest mark bounce out of Scott Hodges' arm, and then not able to put the goal through from the snapshot.
Mead forces it down, Bourlays. We didn't know whether he'd play, but he's played so beautifully today. To Bamford, one-handed attempt, brings it down. Desperate work. Great work deep in defence as Potter dumps it across the line, concedes the point.
And I think that's something that needs to be said about Potter. He doesn't carry the ball a great distance. You don't notice him often. He's not a flashy player, but he's 1%ers. Those little things such as that, the desperation things, are so evident in his game.
Well, they missed him in last year's grand final, I can tell you that. And I think he'd need 3 broken legs not to play in this year's grand final.
That'd be something, wouldn't it? You could make the injury list then. Raider takes a good mark. They're just stalling for some time.
Like this fella. No nonsense. Gets on with the job.
Not flashy, is he?
No, not flashy.
Now watch him hug the boundary line. Far side. Holds up. It was a well-weighted kick, and Cook goes across the line, kicks it out of bounds on the full. So Port Adelaide a chance to pump it back in there. It'll be with Northeast. The legs must be aching now for the Maggies because they've had a couple of weeks that have been very tough. Poole gets it about 65 metres out.
Should go back and have a shot.
I think he is now, Ken. Shocking kick. Well, I need better than that.
Ken, rate for me Damien Hicks's game on Scotty Hodges.
I think it's been a very, very good game. A couple of times that Hodges has been in front in the 2nd quarter, but I think he's done a particularly good job.
Good mark taken out there by Poole. It's a good question, though, David, because in 3 matches, Hicks has held Hodges to 7 goals, and so he'd go into this game full of confidence, and Darryl Poole will now get another opportunity.
They'll meet again in the grand final if Port Adelaide can get over Norwood next week.
And if Darryl Poole's a player I think he is, he'll certainly goal. There's 2 opportunities within a couple of minutes. Should see this one go through the middle.
Mead off, Treadray on. What do you reckon, Ken?
Well, I just hate to see that when you're given 2 opportunities within a space of not very long from the same position on the ground. I think you should make amends with your 2nd shot.
He's had a good day, though. 20 kicks, or 20 possessions, I should say. 8 marks and 16 hit-outs.
Yes, I agree with you. I'd rate him well in Port Adelaide's very best players.
Darren Smith arrives late and runs straight into Feegit. Oh, a tough clash. Both boys had their eyes on the footy. They came out okay, though, both, and they've up and chasing the footy. Darren Smith now. Balkwell off the ground and taken by Bamford. He had a runner wide. Just out there on that starboard side, he decided instead to go with the leg. Daniel out the back. Boundary line, thank you, and finds it. 14 minutes gone. 10-15 the Bulldogs. Port Adelaide are 4-17.
Well, they have to kick 7 goals.
6. 6 goals or 7 goals?
Well, it's 34 points the margin, Triggy. You got to kick at least 6, at least 7 to get over the top. And well, 6, you've got to suggest that Central gets something. 6 is a fair call.
Boundary throw in here in front of the grandstand. Darren Smith. Boys, I tell you what we'll do next week. We'll bring a calculator, shall we? Brown goes across the top, and Wilson, it just doesn't sit nicely enough for him, but he's good enough, isn't he? Oh, in big traffic. What a great smother by Craig Potter. So symptomatic of the Bulldogs' day. He just dived headlong, absolutely regardless of his own safety, and thwarted another attack.
We talked about it earlier, but look at this, just eyes only for the smother. His intent there was right from the outset, and it's those little things, the 1%ers, the sacrificial acts that really make a big difference to the outcome of any game of football.
And you know what it's like playing alongside that when it happens, you just get a bit extra out of it.
I'll rephrase that comment. They make the difference in any outcome of any game of football.
Loose one falls. Geneva flicks it out to Feagott. Feagott's been pretty good today too. On the left boot around the corner. Just gentle caress. And I think he's kicked it. He has. He gets his first Feagott. Port Adelaide 5-17. Trail the Bulldogs 10-15. We're 15 and a half minutes into the final term of the second semi-final.
Nigel Feagott did a very good job on the Norwood half-forward flankers last week. He's a tall guy and very good in the air, and also just as at home on the ground, and very important to us.
.28 points the difference. Bounce down in the centre. This is an extremely important centre break. I don't believe who got that knock away. It was Michael Wilson. Good tap, son. You get yourself into the roughing business. Feagott. The intensity's gone up from the Bulldogs now as well as Feagott goes in on his second break at it. And we've got a bounce down on the point of the square.
Well, there's
31,604 people, just eclipsing last week's 31,500. And the same day last year we were 31,281. So attendance is up for the SANFL year on year, and things are looking pretty healthy.
Francis can't get a first dibs at the footy. Pushed on Anderson. Someone's got a free kick in there. I think it might be Francis. And that's northeast. How could you get them mixed up? Roger Gurdon getting organised to come back on. He's been on and off all day. That kick carries 70 metres from northeast. Good mark taken by Poole. He's ninth for the day. What about this time, Ken?
Yes, sit back and have a crack at it, son.
Gets very close to the man on the mark, but gets under the ball. Did he get underneath it too much? It carries and carries, but Hodges has taken it. Two goals to Hodges so far, and you can only keep him down for so long.
Well, here's a guy who can kick 5 in 5 minutes.
We've seen it before. 17 and a half minutes gone in the last turn. Port Adelaide aren't dispensed with yet. Hodges third is Port Adelaide sixth.
We saw it in the corresponding game last year.
And what a great mark by Darryl Poole. A strong mark. Very physical mark. One of great strength. A team-lifting mark. And that goal of Hodges, seeing the Port Adelaide players congregate back around at the centre of the square. The crowd are pumping. You can really see Port Adelaide believing that they can get the necessary 4 goals in the closing 10 minutes of play.
Crowd getting right behind their clubs. 22-point margin. 18 minutes into the final term, and Port Adelaide are certainly good enough. There'll be probably another 8 or 9 minutes in this match. They can kick the goals. The Bulldogs' task will be to stop them. Francis, here's a champ, second in the McGarry. 60, closes, where's Scotty? Well done. It was Wakeland.
The kick needed to be just a bit better, didn't it?
So difficult to kick those goals when you break out of the centre. You're not sure in your mind whether you should hit the leading full forward or whether you have a bounce and have a crack. But
your comment, Ken, is so right at the moment that Port Adelaide ooze belief. You can sense it out there that they feel as though they can win this game. They got themselves back within 21 points. As the ball heads towards the boundary line once again, Scott Lee will make no attempt. But 19 minutes gone, we're on the doorstep of time on. They still have time.
They should not win it. If Central District are up to the task, they should be able to defend this. But we've seen even last night where Sydney come home from the Bombers after being 2 goals up with only 3 or 4 minutes to play.
Yeah, they did. Darren Smith tries to bring it back into the corridor. I think that's the thing that Port Adelaide have done this term, is played it right down the middle. Wilson. Now that kick was smothered. Who do you reckon smothered it? Scotty Lee. Not a bad smother either, is it?
See there, just desperation from Lee. Just threw himself at the boot.
He'd opened his mouth, he would have swallowed it, Tricky.
Forward it goes to Treadrape. Francis. That's a clever kick to the head of the square and a little push out. No, he's paid the mark. Treadray, the 17-year-old. Well, I don't think there's any doubt that he put a little nudge in there, but he's been paid the mark. That's the critical thing.
And what's interesting to see here, there's certainly a nudge, but no, they're all in the throes of the game. But you can see the Central District players dropping their head. They've really got to respond here.
Treadray from the point of the square kicks his first. Scott Lee doesn't like it, but with Treadray's first and Port Adelaide's 7th, 15 points the difference.
And Warren Treadray, probably his best game for the club last week, really lifted for the finals, and he's a very important player to us around the forward line, and we're looking forward to Warren playing another good game this week.
15 points the margin. Port Adelaide, if they get one more, you can watch the roof lift off the stadium.
Just about off now, David.
You can just feel the crowd. It's just reverberating around the oval. And certainly the Central District players will be feeling it and going, oh no, they need to hold their nerve. D. Smith thumps it out. Wilson, hurried kick wide. Fiacci down from the back pocket. Running forward, has support in Brown and Borlase. They'll work it out between them over the top. Borlase got through, did very well. Bamford around the corner, into space it goes. Wakeland got a bad bounce. Scotty Hodges got a beauty. On the left, he'll bring it back around the corner, and he's got a point. Well, if that had been a goal, I don't know that we'd have been taking bets.
And you can see the indecision from the Bulldogs. Michael Wakeland just should have been able to force himself forward to run into the line of that football, but he waited and the ball bounced over his head. You have to keep attacking the football, keep playing in a positive frame.
No mistake this time from Scotty Lee, finds Cook.
3 goals through to Scotty Hodges too, Steve.
Comes back to Lee. Don't want to mess around with it too much down there because Port Adelaide have a scent. Daniel gets claimed. That's just the sort of thing that can cost you a game as Anderson bends it back, but not quite far enough. Well, interestingly, and just roll out a figure for you that in 70 meetings since 1964, the history of the Central Club, in 70 meetings, Port have won 56. So why wouldn't you believe that you can always win if you're wearing a black and white jumper?
This is one time that the Bulldogs have to stand up. They have to be able to hold this lead.
I must say, if they can, they'll go into the final. Boyd, oh look, it's hit the post. Now, that's 4 chances in a minute and a half, and they've all missed.
12 points the difference.
2 straight kicks. Central have to be able to maintain possession.
Brownie can't believe it. Scotty Hodges launches one to the far side. It was a great kick. Schaefer, his second half has been fantastic, the big man. What a valuable recruit he's been to the club this year. They lost 5 of last year's grand final team, the Bulldogs. The kick goes wide under it, McGowan. My best to the Bulldogs.
That's a magnificent mark.
He doesn't take a lot of overhead marks either. He can just 13 kicks, 11 handballs and 5 marks. You can just feel him willing himself on this game. And he is turning into a pivotal player for the Bulldogs. I think his form in the grand final will be one of the instruments as to whether they win or lose. Now Vardy pushes it off to Stevens. Inboard, gets support. Hooray to the centre half back. Now it's centre half forward. Chips up Jimmy Wynd. He's got it. It's a mark or a free kick. Take your pick, and the Bulldog fans love it.
It's got to be a 50-metre penalty, surely.
He read it well, didn't he? Because what happened here, watch this, is that Fiacci was watching the player. Jim Wynd feigned it towards the goals and then ducked back in.
Now watch this. Fiacci now takes the ball, carries it off out to the half-back flank, clears the ball. That's got to be a penalty, surely.
Jimmy's happy to take it from there. Don't worry about that.
And his score will be a good one.
Well, 12 points the difference. It'll mean that Port Adelaide will need to get 2 goals and 3 goals to win. Important kick.
That's a great kick from Jimmy Wynd. Playing to the whistle. Wasn't bluing at all about perhaps a penalty that should have been given, but equal to the task. His concentration was there, his focus was there. He's kicked his 3rd goal as Roger Girdham comes off for Craig Potter. Potter will go straight into the centre bounce, and this centre bounce clearance is crucial to Port Adelaide's chances.
Well, they missed this little fellow in the grand final and the semi-final last year as well.
Well, he's just such a magnificent character, isn't he?
Just thinking the same thing, Ken, that if they don't get this out very quickly, Port Adelaide, it's just about over for them. 25 minutes have gone. They need a quick entry, a take and a goal, and then get it back and try it on again. But Central, you can sense they've picked up the pace a bit.
And how tired would they be?
Oh, they'd be hurting. No doubt about that.
Lactic acid would be coming out their ears about now.
Well, the Bulldog chant is magnificent, urging their players on. It's the first goal that's been kicked against this strong wind today.
Harada works back with Lee. And the old-timers do it okay together in tandem. Lee belts it as far as he can towards centre wing. Sitting at the back is Peter Green. He also missed much of last year's final series with a leg injury. Can't do anything with it at half forward is Wynd. Gets it forward in the end. It was pretty good to Vardy. Holding the ball. Play on. Fegan. Decided that instead of handballing, he'd take it for a run. He took a bounce and then got the left leg to it. Finds a player there in business. If he can't and Central turn it over, then you'd think they're just about going to hang on. Saywell works his way back and provides a very important clearance. 26 minutes gone.
And he's been good, Saywell, number 29. Played on the wing all day. A tremendous player. But back to the Central's crowd, the Central's crowd chant. Their team, their supporters really maturing as a finals force, urging their team on.
Northeast did a great job on Cotton in the first 3 quarters until Cotton went off. Kicked into the man on the mark. The ball comes back. Look at this, an opportunity. Green, Conway, left footer, into the hole. Who's there? Who's dropping back on it? Oh, it's going to bounce. Oh. He's kicked it. Good night, Port Adelaide. See you in the preliminary final. It's all over, and the Bulldogs go through to the grand final. Their second grand final in 2 years, and I think they're rubbing their hands. They would love Norwood and Port Adelaide to beat the living daylights out of each other in the preliminary final. They're in the grand final for 1996.
And you can see Green, he's been influential in the last few minutes. Get that handball onto Conway. Conway kicked 2 in the third, and that one in the fourth quarter, a crucial goal for his side's chances of winning this year's grand final. 27 minutes gone. The Bulldogs will celebrate because they're going to go for the very first time straight into a grand final from the all-important second semi. Well done by McGuinness. That won't carry. Ginniver's been off the ground for a long time. He kicks it forward. I think it underlines the fact, that Tim's not well. Just struggled to get into the game earlier. But with 18 possessions, you'd say that he's worked very, very hard. It's simply a matter of the fact that he didn't look free and easy, did he?
One of their best here too.
Potter should go off the ground, and the umpire now will send him off.
Little late.
Potter's going to try and say that there's no problem, but we'll have a hold up here. Now it's 4 goals the difference. In fact, it's, I beg your pardon, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 goals the difference. 4 goals the difference. 12-15 to 7-21.
It's been a great response from the Bulldogs. The Magpies really did throw everything at them through the middle part of this latter quarter. They opened up with goals to Hodges, but then Fegan, Hodges and Treadray kicked 3 quick ones.
Excuse me, Ken, I just thought of that photo. The Barmy Army have gone to war. They're at war with Port Adelaide, and or whoever wins next week's preliminary final, they'll go to war with them.
And for the Bulldogs to respond with goals to Wynd, the first into the win for the game, and then Conway only moments later, it's been a win of great character.
Well, they'd have to start hot favourites now, because Norwood and Port Adelaide fronting each other inside 2 matches. It just takes it out of you, and to get there now and play the Bulldogs is going to be such a draining experience. History's shown that when you go straight in and you have the rest, you're best placed. The reflex is good from the pack. It goes to Girdham, decides to take a bounce and just carry it. That's a rarity for the little Roger Dodger, because he normally gets the reflex out and it goes across the line.
Let me share with you, Tricky, too. Kerry Wright, the coach's wife, is going to have all the Bulldog wives painted red, white and blue for the grand final. She's guaranteed me that, and big hats. So I'll be interested to see that. I just wonder what the players will think of it. I can't wait to see it.
There's another blood rule here as Green leaves the arena. So it'll be interesting to see who does come back on the ground for the Bulldogs. Simon Lures it will be.
He's pretty fired up. I think he's suggesting that someone might have clocked him one there. 3 kicks for Peter Green. As he gets cleaned up. Fairly superficial though. He'll be there next week or the week after.
Well, he was critical in the last couple of goals of the Bulldogs. He was involved in the linking, in the passage of play as the ball went forward.
Boundary throw in, 12-15 to 7-21. It's a lot of behinds, isn't it? Out of 28 effective scoring shots. Bamford across the line once more on the far side. We've played 30 minutes as Peter Green gets cleaned up.
Central played Port twice in second semi-finals. They've lost both. Today, they have remedied that situation. They're 2-1. They'll come away from this match as winners, and I'm sure they're looking to put a few other hoodoos to rest as well. Wakeland. Oh, what's he done? He's cramped? It's not a hammy. No way. That's just a cramp. Didn't look good, though, at the time. He's worked pretty hard. The outer side it goes. Playing for time now. They'll play right on the line. Jimmy Wynd commits the body to the task. Forces a bounce. So score check. We're 31 minutes into the final term. Central 12-15, 87. Porter 7-21, 63. The margin's out to 24 points. And that old cramp, that is a problem. It hurts. It's a shocker.
31 minutes gone now. Just about over for the Magpies. They'll have to go and put some ice on and get themselves organised for a showdown with Norwood. So the mould has been broken. It just seemed as though everything was unfolding as it was in 1995 when the Magpies went straight through. It's not going to happen now because Central have won it. And they've blasted their way in front of 31,000 fans through to the 96 grand final, 12-15 to 7-21. And they held on.
In what was an explosive game of football, the only indictment on the game was the inaccuracy at the goal face. 21 behinds did Port Adelaide kick and 15 did the Bulldogs kick. Saywell, Cook and Vardy were magnificent with their pace, as were McGuinness and Francis for the Bulldogs. The structure of both teams, McGowan probably best on the ground, Girdham and Potter were influential for the Bulldogs, while Ginniver, Borlase were magnificent. Borlase on the overlap, very, very good in accumulating a lot of possessions. The scores were dead level at various stages throughout the game. There are a couple of injuries as seen there to Jared Cotton with an ankle, but there were no goals kicked until the final term into the strong breeze. Jimmy Wynd kicked actually a match-saving goal, and then Big Conway kicked the winning goal. The coaches both were tremendous. The players were tremendous in what was a magnificent game of football. Best players, certainly McGowan. I thought Saywell was fantastic. And for Port Adelaide, I thought Poole and Borlase.
I don't know that too many people would argue that. I thought Bigot was pretty reasonable as well.
Wakeland was instrumental in Central District's win. He started on the half-back flank. Kicking with the breeze, he was shifted onto the half-forward line, and he kicked 2 goals and linked with a couple of others in that third quarter where Central District really did blow the game apart.
Was a turning point, you think?
Against the breeze, he went backwards a second, didn't he? So I think Stevie Wright decided that he was going to use it wherever the ball was going to be.
Tremendous versatility has Michael Wakeland. Tremendous athlete and played a very, very good game.
Okay, so another score check, 12-15 to 7-21. Mark Nailey's down on boundary side with a player who'd be delighted since he missed last year's final series.
Yeah, with me down here is Jimmy Wynd. He had a fantastic game. Jimmy, you missed last year's grand final. How do you feel now?
Oh, mate, I'm wrapped. I'm wrapped to be there, I tell you. It's been a year that I've been waiting for this, and now we're there.
Last week in Victoria, we saw Essendon get up, and all the crowd, they just threw their jumpers in the air like with Kevin Shitty used to do. I mean, today, that Central's crowd, they started chanting the Centrals. How'd that make you feel?
Fantastic, mate. Down in the forward line there, you could hear them a mile away, and they are one of the best bunch of supporters I've ever seen.
That goal you got in the last quarter, you went up to the crowd, your supporter base was behind the goals there, you went up, you threw your arms in the air. They really must love you down there, Elizabeth.
They pump you up there. They're fantastic. Well,
I won't keep it any longer. I know you want to enjoy the moment. Thanks a lot, Jim.
So 24 points the difference in the end. Central District have broken a hoodoo. Only 56 times before today out of 70 occasions have they managed to beat Port Adelaide, and today they did it emphatically. They had a nice little break leading into the last quarter. They held on, they did it well. Port Adelaide threatened, but as you saw, they went away with it, and they've marched into their second grand final in succession.